Welcome to the Movie Draft Podcast. I'm Ethan Simi, and today I'm joined by two wonderful guests. First up is Sophia Ciminello.
Hi, Ethan. I'm so excited to be here.
And next up, shrouded in mystery currently, if you're watching on YouTube or on Spotify, is Bryan Sudfield.
God damn it! Viva Revolution!
Wow.
Very good. Very good,
Okay.
Bryan. Big props to you showing up as Bob. Well done.
I even have a beer in preparation.
A few small beers.
As
Yeah.
they
A
would
small
say.
beer. Small beer.
Few small beers. Well, if you couldn't figure out, today we are drafting PTA movies in a collaborative draft. I did have someone comment on my TikTok the other day and say, what is PTA? So for those of you listening that don't know who PTA is, that's Paul Thomas Anderson. He's one of our guys. He's
You
a
mean
director.
we're not doing the Parent-Teacher Association draft?
Yeah, R.I.P. I'm sure we
God.
could rustle up 10 Alzheimer's, but we proceed in the movie in the direction of movies with PTA in a collaborative draft. Hello, Sophia. Hello, Bryan. Before we do intros, before we get into this, what is sure to be a completely, totally normal and really sane, low key draft. Which actually, I'm not being sarcastic. I do have a feeling it might go in that direction. We'll see. I do have a big announcement for the Movie Draft Podcast. This is the first time that this is going to be going out in public. But this week, we are now on Letterboxd. We are under Movie Draft Pod. You can find our account on Letterboxd. You can find lists of every single draft that we have ever done. So full results, winners, links to every single episode. For auction drafts, you can see exactly how much money was spent on completely ridiculous films. For collaborative drafts, you can see the ranked list order of everything. And then you can see how many movies that you've seen that have been drafted by us. So counting right now, this would be episode 91. So there are 91 lists on Letterboxd. Go follow us over there, Movie Draft Pod. I won't reveal what the four favorites are of our account, but I will just say go to Letterboxd, find out for yourself. It was co-signed by Ben. So before you come after me, this has been signed off by the secondary party. And I'm very happy about it.
We're still going to come after you no matter what.
I could literally put the most perfect favorite four that encapsulates this entire show, and people would still be like, too much Ethan. Too much Ethan influence in there. So I've taken that and I've ran with it. Bryan, hello. You're fresh off the 2018 movie draft. Des won. You didn't, unfortunately, couldn't continue with your 2017 victory and see it through to 2018. But you're back for another draft. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm very excited to be here today podding about my father, PTA, and I'm excited to pod with the two of you. It's always a pleasure, again, to pod with you guys. And I can't believe I'm in this getup, but that just comes to show how dedicated I am into providing good entertainment for the pod. I'm sure you've never had anything like that. Oh, he's pulling out his phone right now to take a picture.
Yeah. This is being documented, of course.
But no, genuinely, this is the draft that I've been most excited for. When Ethan first told me about this pod 2 years ago, which is crazy, I was like, oh, PTA, would love to be a part of that. And Ethan could tell the story of how I originally wasn't even supposed to be here, but then God works in mysterious ways, and now here I am podding with you and Sophia, and I'm so excited. But yeah, very, very happy to be here. Sad I lost the 2018 draft, but you know what? You lost, and that's all that matters to me.
Yeah, there was a whole lot of conversation around in our group chat, of which you are a member, Sophia. I'm going to pull the veil back just a little bit here for listeners.
Fine.
So, of course, Sophia, you did not join the 2018 draft. Unfortunately, you were slated to join that draft. It did not happen. We were trying to recoup the energy of the 2017 draft, but we tried our hardest, and you are still part of the group text. And when Des was announced the winner, there was a lot of conversation and dare I say Ethan slander about how a win in any direction other than mine is a victory for humanity. I don't agree with that take, and I know a lot of listeners have that take as well, but that I just have to stand my ground and say I do not agree with that. Congratulations to Des. Wonderful victory. Sorry you couldn't join that pod, Sophia, but you're here now, which is exciting.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here now. New York Film Festival is such a busy time, so I sadly wasn't able to join, but this is a big draft. Paul Thomas Anderson is one of my favorite people, period. And we'll talk about, I know, our relationships to him and the movies as we go. But yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. And I also think it's going to be actually collaborative because all of
Mhm.
these movies are great.
Okay. You did put out in our group chat a
I
couple of
did.
days ago. You were like, I'm pretty sure we're gonna vibe, guys. Like, I'm pretty
I
sure
think
we're
so.
all feeling the right feelings going into this draft. Now, of course, there are only 10 movies eligible for this draft. Generally, with collaborative drafts, we are working with a much like wider net, a much larger kind of swath of options for films. Keeping it to 10, in theory, if you think about the logistics of a collaborative draft, should expedite this exercise. It should
Mhm.
move it in a quick direction because we only have so many movies to choose from. I don't think that is going to happen. I think that all of us love PTA a very unhealthy amount, and we all have lots to say about each individual film. So the collaboration isn't really of interest to me because I have a list and I need it to go in that direction. But I think this is going to be a really good kind of like table setting for us to like talk about PTA, which is really exciting. Bryan, you said God works in mysterious ways. PTA works in mysterious ways. We've had this on our calendar for a very, very, very long time, and we've wanted to do PTA. And of course, One Battle After Another has come out last 2 weeks ago. By the time this pod comes out, and it's all the rage. It's all that we are talking about these days, which is really exciting. But I'll start with you, Bryan. What is your relationship to PTA? What is your relationship to his films?
Not to go on a personal spiel or anything, but Paul Thomas Anderson's films have kind of helped me through very rough and tumultuous periods of my life. And I got into his films a little later than I probably should have. It was around the time that Phantom Thread came out in 2017 where I finally decided to go through his array of work. And since then, he has just solidified himself as not only my favorite working filmmaker, but my favorite filmmaker, period. What I really admire about him, among many things, and I could write a whole thesis about why I love this guy's work and everything, but I really love how he does different films each and every time. I like that he doesn't stick to one specific kind of project. I like that he spices it up every once in a while. I like that he takes his time with each project. And obviously, the filmmaking elements of all of his projects are just so incredibly meticulous. He really puts detail into every little element of his projects, whether it's with the imagery, the sound, the score, the costumes, the sets, all of it. Like, the detail is there and it's so meticulous and it's so perfect. And he's a filmmaker that has directed some of the greatest performances maybe of all time. And he's directed many films that people have labeled as some of the best films, not only of their respective years, but of their respective decades, and honestly, even of the century. Like, the guy is just so special. And every time he puts out a film, it's like an event. It's kind of like a Super Bowl, except obviously we don't get a PTA film every single year like we did with the Super Bowl, but it's a very special case when it comes to him. And, certain films on this list, and we'll touch upon them when we get to them, some of them have kind of saved my life, and I'm so appreciative of that. I love him so much. I really legit admire the dedication that he puts into all of his work, and I love how he celebrates cinema, and he's a proponent of the cinematic experience. And obviously, with the film he has out right now, like you said, Ethan, this is all we're talking about right now. Like, for the last week, ever since this came out, time of recording, this is all everyone's been talking about. And it's honestly a very amazing thing to see something like this happen. Every once in a while, we get a filmmaker coming out with a new film, and it just ends up being the thing to talk about. So he's the best. He really is the best. I could say so much more, and I don't want to take up too much of this time, but I love him, and I know that you two love him as well. So, he's a very special filmmaker to me, and he's just my favorite of all time. I love him so much.
Yeah, I love that for you. I connect with that a lot, and I think that a lot of people hold a similar sentiment when it does come to PTA. I think obviously with One Battle After Another is being kind of proposed as this massive, ginormous event film of the year for sure. Of course, shot in VistaVision. Everybody's trying to see it on film. I go to work and I'm like, yeah, I saw One Battle After Another for a third time this weekend. And people are like, why? And I'm like, well, let me tell you. And that is special, right? Like, I think only PTA could really kind of elicit those conversations. Before I forget, Sophie, the Sophie, was originally supposed to be on this draft in your stead, Bryan. So you have come in to fill the Sophie Holsinger sized shoes and sized heart on this draft. And I'm hoping the plan is that when this pod comes out, she will have sent us an audio note listing her PTA rankings, her personal PTA rankings. Now, for listeners of the show that have been around for a long time, might remember Ben and myself had tried to get Sophie to give us her Tom Hanks collaborative rankings for a very, 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 very long time. She has refused. So whether or not she has an audio note on this pod, yet to be determined. I guess you'll know when you listen to the show, because at time of recording, I don't have it. And I'm really interested to see what her rankings are going to be. Sophia, what is your connection to PTA? What do you make of his films?
Yeah. So speaking of Sophie, I know I told you both this offline, but I think listeners will appreciate this. I saw Sophie 2 nights in a row at AMC Lincoln Square to see One Battle After Another in 70 millimeter. The second night, I was coming up the escalator and I saw her there, and we just locked eyes. And we're like, oh my God, you're here again. Mm-hmm. The PTA queens, we're back. And that is just how I feel really about this filmmaker. I've seen so many of his movies over and over again. They have this very addictive quality. He's also my favorite director and has been for some time. And I think part of the reason why he is so special to me is because he was my gateway into film criticism, into podcasting. I think when I saw his films, I decided that I wanted to keep talking about movies more broadly. And I think what it is about PTA, it's hard to articulate, I think, just how personal his films feel to me. But I'm always overcome with emotion whenever I watch any of his films, whether it's Boogie Nights or Phantom Thread or Magnolia, One Battle After Another. I'm always just moved by how powerful they feel for me, and also how different they feel to me at new points in my life when I've rewatched them or revisited them. And I think there are so many directors who are working today who just don't necessarily have that kind of power over me. He feels a little bit more like a relic of another time, but he's also moving cinema forward in really exciting ways. He reminds me of Altman or Scorsese, Jonathan Demme, Kubrick, where nothing is surface level. There's a lot of ambiguity. And most importantly, there are these incredibly complex characters that are really hard to love, I think, on the surface, but that just makes me care for them more because there's just something deeper underneath. And that's also, Bryan, like you were saying, I think why he has gifted us with some of the greatest performances of all time from actors. And we'll talk through some of those today. I think some of those might influence our rankings ultimately, even. But I think, what's interesting about him is that, and this goes into One Battle, is that I think audiences over the years have really struggled with his movies and the thorny characters and that darkness within the light that he finds sometimes. And because nothing is straightforward, audiences struggle today with his movies. But One Battle is so different. When this got an A cinema score, I was so happy. And I normally don't totally care about things like that. But just seeing that thrilled me. Seeing the sold out IMAX screenings and the sold out VistaVision screenings here in New York and out in LA, it was just thrilling. And I think overall, another big reason why he's my favorite filmmaker is because our senses of humor just click. I just think his films are so funny, and I'm always on his wavelength. And I notice when I've seen some of his films, sometimes audiences take a little bit of time to connect to that or don't think it's funny necessarily. But I'm just always right there with him. I love the humor in his films. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about all of them today.
Yeah. I mean, I resonate, like I said with you, Bryan, I resonate with a lot of what both of you had said. And Sophia, I think you really encompass it pretty well. Like his films do have an addictive quality to them, and they do really grow with you, which I think is really fascinating. And I have kind of a weird relationship with PTA, but real quick before I forget, if you're watching the video, you should be able to see this. I do have a One Battle After Another poster already in my podcast studio, so I don't know if that'll tell anybody anything about maybe the direction that we're headed for this collaborative draft. The fact that Bryan is also dressed up as Bob, I think, is very important here. Nonetheless, I have a kind of like a weird thing with PTA where he kind of has always been a little bit of an enigma for me personally. And I know I got into movies like kind of like on the later side of things in late 2022 or 2021, excuse me, or sorry, in like 2019. I started caring more about movies, but PTA was just like not, it kind of felt like a Scorsese or like an Altman, where I was just like, that's too important. And I can't really, I can't watch his movies because I'm just not there, like in my film criticism. So I do distinctly remember the first PTA movie that I did see was Punch Drunk Love. And I actually saw this in May of 2020. And I think that is a really, we'll talk about it, but I think it's a really interesting like entry point into PTA. Of course, he's only made 3 contemporary films. Punch Drunk Love is one of them. And it's the only time he's worked with Sandler, which I think is, fascinating in the One Battle After Another conversation. The only time he's worked with Leo. But then I went to see Licorice Pizza in theaters. I didn't know, it was not like a One Battle After Another situation for me where I was like, this movie's coming out. It's a big deal. I need to be there. I need to see it as soon as I can. I need to see it as many times as I can. This is an important moment. I just ended up going, and I did see it on 35 millimeter. It was actually the first movie I ever saw on film, which was really special because I was like, I feel like a kind of a cinephile now because I've like seen a movie and someone projected this and like they tried really hard to make sure we had a good experience. And I immediately loved Licorice Pizza. And so I know Bryan is a big Licorice Pizza fan. I know Sophia, you have an adoration for Licorice Pizza as well. So I have no idea where this movie is going to end up, but I know is probably one of the more hot button movies of PTA's career. But as like an entry point for me into his humor and the way he sees the world, really was a great start. And then I kind of started working through his filmography as I got more into, listening to the big picture or reading film criticism or things like that. And I remember watching Boogie Nights being like, oh, I get it. Like, I get why people are like, Boogie Nights is the movie. And so that pretty immediately became one of my favorite movies like ever. And then I recently saw There Will Be Blood, like within the last 6 months for the very first time. I crossed off 2 new watches leading up to One Battle After Another. So like I've had a long relationship with PTA working through his filmography. And I think the thing that I'm most attached to about him as a filmmaker is this sort of overwhelming melancholy that always permeates pretty much every single character that he ever puts on screen. I know we'll talk about a lot of these, even in One Battle After Another, like Bob's delusion of what could have been and what his reality is now. And ultimately, the way PTA sees how time moves through people and moves through relationships is something I'm deeply attached to. After Sun does this, and that's one of my favorite movies of all time, right? Like these ideas, like past lives, similar situation of like, how does time change the way we see the world and ourselves and what we could be or should be? And I think every single one of PTA's movies, Bryan, you said, they're all different. They all encompass different things, but they're all ultimately the same. They're all ultimately about these like middle-aged white guys who make the wrong decision at every turn and kind of just like submit themselves to the love of what a woman can give. And it's never quite what they think it's going to be, which I think is really interesting and hopefully something that we talk about here on this collaborative draft. So with all of that being said, do we want to talk about One Battle After Another now? Or I guess I'm posing, maybe we should talk about it when it's drafted. Do you guys think that seems more appropriate?
Yeah. Let's talk about it when it's drafted. I think that sounds good.
Okay. Do we think that's going to be soon, or should we be sitting on those thoughts for a while?
Let's
what do you
sit
guys think? Okay. Interesting.
I concur. I concur.
Yeah, I think that's very telling. Of course, question that is always front and center during these collaborative drafts Is it important that we represent the interest of the people with this list, or is this our list in this little pocket of safety, of PTA safety here? Or is it, I alluded to earlier, like I have a list and there is a movie that I need in a particular spot. Where are you guys at on this? Because the graphic that comes out, it has been noted, of course, with our Ari Aster, Robert Eggers, Jordan Peele draft, people not very happy with that graphic and thought that was like what we actually believed. So how do I say, the integrity of the show lays in our hands right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think it needs to be a blend. That's just my approach. I mean, I have my list too, but my list is public. So like if you guys wanted to look at it, you could, to see what I might want in certain places.
So is mine.
I think I'm thinking a little bit of both. Like there are certain things maybe that, I don't know, I might like a little bit less than other people, but maybe that could be higher. But again, the thing is that like on my personal list, the top 7 films I have on here are 5 stars for me. So I'm kind of okay with some things maybe moving around here or there. Now, I do think that there are some films where like I really will want that in the top 3 or the top 5 maybe. So I think I'm thinking of it that way, maybe in tiers a little bit. But I really do think we can make this fairly collaborative. We'll see.
I echo the same feelings that Sophia has. There's obviously some films that I think should be in the top 3 for sure, but similar to you, Sophia, 8 of his movies are 5 stars to me, and my least favorite film of his is a 4-star. So like everything is 4 stars and above. So I feel like there might be some not obvious ones, but some that definitely make more sense to be in the bottom tier than the upper tier. But it could really go multiple ways. But similar to what Ethan said when this started, I do think that this is going to be a fairly collaborative draft. I'm sure there will be some chaos sprinkled throughout because I know what your guys' number 1 PTA film is, and I know
your guys's? You mean we share the same
number 1?
We don't share.
Your individual.
Oh,
number ones.
okay.
Me.
I thought you were just giving away a big bag there. Wow.
If we did, that'd be wild.
That would be insane. Run the board. Okay, not happening.
No,
okay, but our individual number ones.
All of our number ones are very, very different to one another. So I'm curious to see how this pans out for sure. I just don't want a certain film at number 10. That's all that I am asking.
Right.
That's not going to happen with this group, Bryan.
Good.
I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Good. I think you're again a safe haven, a PTA safe haven here. Everybody's opinions are valid and welcome. I guess I have more of a breadth of star ratings than all of you do, because I do actually have 1 3.5 star. I have 2 4 stars. I have a 4.5, and then I have 6 5 stars. And even that, I mean, I think PTA warrants obviously the big 5-star conversations because they're all pretty much all timers. But to have over 50% of your filmography be 5 stars, perfect quote unquote movies is a big deal, and will inherently make a collaborative draft a little bit more difficult. So I do think it's important that we represent the interests of what we want. I think we should walk away at the end of the day with the 3 of us being happy, because with all of these one battle after another conversations, it gets a little bit tiring to be on social media and for people to be like, hey, guess what? The Master actually is best movie. And then people are like, no, it's not. Yes, it is. And it's like, I feel like we could do some good work for social standing here and PTA's image. So I hope we do that.
I like that.
Same.
Obviously, we all saw one battle after another going into this pod. Did you guys do any like PTA lead up before one battle? Did you guys watch anything? I know I mentioned I had 2 new watches. I finished out his filmography, and I did 3 rewatches for one battle.
I saw a few. So whenever I know a new PTA movie is coming, I try to see as many as I can in the form of rep screening, so in theaters. So
good idea.
This year I saw Magnolia, The Master, Inherent Vice, and Phantom Thread again in theaters before one battle.
Where did you see these at? What was the rep theater you went to?
So a couple of different ones. Metrograph always screens quite a few of them here in New York, and then Film at Lincoln Center as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think there were
So
some
they're
rep
good about
screenings
that.
in LA as well. I think like Frida Cinema was doing a huge kind of rep, months long lead up for PTA as well. Unfortunately, here in Portland, not the case.
Yeah. And then I watched There Will Be Blood today.
Wow, today
for this one.
fresh,
Mhm.
fresh off
It felt like
the
it needed to be
Plainview
fresh,
train.
maybe.
Okay, interesting.
We'll see.
interesting. Brian, I know you've seen One Battle After Another 5 times at the time of this recording. Is that true?
Yes, I did.
I'm
I
at
did.
5 too.
God
Five
damn,
Timers
guys.
Club.
Sometimes having kids, really gets in the way of seeing films.
Well,
Not ideal.
here's the thing with the movie, and I won't obviously spoil my thoughts on the movie or anything. Clearly, watching it 5 times, people should know how I feel at this rate. But I've never watched a movie twice in the same day in the theater before. This was my first time doing it for this movie. So it was a very special
cool.
case. I've never done that before, ever.
Yeah.
I've seen movies like the same movie back-to-back days, but never twice in the same day in the theater. That's never happened before. But I did watch Inherent Vice at Film and Lincoln Center when they did its print a few months ago and everything. And I have honestly been very gracious enough to have seen a lot of his movies on film. On the big screen, obviously not in New Jersey. They don't do shit like that here. But, Boogie Nights, Phantom Thread, Licorice Pizza. I just missed out on a master screen that was happening right outside Philly, but it was happening when we were at TIFF. So I couldn't go see it, unfortunately. But no, it's been great seeing pretty much all of his movies in the theater. It's really only Hard 8 and The Master that I didn't see in the theater. Everything else I've seen on the big screen, so that's pretty cool.
Okay, guys, must be nice.
You gotta move to you gotta move to the East Coast. Let's go.
I do. I know. The West Coast doing me dirty. At least the Pacific Northwest doing me dirty. I know LA is they're spoiled down there. I've seen. Obviously, I mentioned Licorice Pizza. I've seen in theaters. I've seen There Will Be Blood in theaters on film. I've seen Boogie Nights in theaters on film. And of course, One Battle After Another on a 70. So I've only seen 4 of his movies on the big screen. I've seen One Battle After Another 3 times. I wanted to try to be at 4 by the time that we recorded this. Unfortunately, again, I do have children and I do have a wife and I have a job. So those things really do get in the way of seeing a 2-hour and 45-minute movie, although it does feel like 90 minutes. So it's a hard sell to be like, I'm going to go see this movie again. And then my wife is like, it's almost 3 hours. And I'm like, no, it's like 85 minutes. I promise. I'm going to be right back. That's what it feels like. Not the case. So yeah. And it's interesting leading up to this pod. Molly actually watched, Punch Drunk Love with me. And I will reveal she, of course, not on the same level, I would say, as like many PTA heads or people, or maybe ourselves. She did watch the movie, though, in full, and she walked away and she's like, I didn't like that. And I was like, okay, that's fair. Really interesting. And so I have been lobbying for her to watch, Magnolia, I think is probably the most telling of like, do you actually not like PTA, or maybe you just didn't like Punch Drunk Love? So that was an interesting experience leading up to this show. Okay. No more banter. No more beating around the bush here. I think we should draft, and I think we should do this experiment, this exercise, and see what happens. So this is a collaborative draft. So whether, of course, the strategy is to go for the things that you want in the positions that you want, or if we do all work together collaboratively, there will only be one team standing at the end of this, a collaborative board essentially ranking the 10 feature films of Paul Thomas Anderson. As always with the collaborative drafts, a special shout out to Screen Drafts, a wonderful podcast that has influenced this draft layout, which is really exciting. Ben is not here to explain the picks and the abilities, so I shall do that in his place, and I will try my hardest to be as clear as I can. Because even though we're going to be collaborative, there's still abilities, and there's still the potential for things to go a little sideways here. And the more that we talk, and the more that we lead up to this, and the more that we traverse the ocean waves of road that might see us to our final destination, I'm feeling like I kind of want to stir things up. And I think we should start soon before we see things go really awry. So, of course, there's 3 people drafting on this. And I know I did just receive a DM from our lovely buddy, Ryan McQuaid, who wanted to be a part of this draft. And to that I say, Ryan, there's only 10 movies, and you can only have 3 people. You can't have 4.
Sorry, Ryan. He chose Bryan over Ryan.
I did. Yeah, sorry. It might have been a typo when I went to go text, right? It's just like, added a B in there. Who's to say? No, I chose you, Bryan, and there cannot be 4 people. There's only 10 movies. So, you know, those are the constraints and those are stipulations. So if any listeners are curious or people that tune in on a regular basis, the more movies that are available, the more people that can participate in a collaborative draft. Of course, we only have 10. So drafter A is going to get picks 10, 7, 4, and 1. They're going to get 2 vetoes. Now, they do get the most amount of picks, and they also get the most amount of vetoes, but drafter B is going to be getting picks 8, 5, and 2. And I know I'm working down to up, so basically they'll be getting 2, 5, and 8. They get a single veto. Now, the reason that they only get a single veto is because they are essentially choosing the number 1 spot as well, because there will only be 1 movie left for drafter A to choose from when the time comes. Drafter C is going to get picks 3, 6, and 9. They're going to get a single veto and the only veto override of the collaborative draft. Now, recently, the veto override was used, infamously difficult to use. I don't think it's going to come into play here, but maybe you think differently. I think anything's possible. Anything could happen. Is there a position you guys are hoping for, gunning for? I got to get my wheel of names up here because I forgot to do that because I was just so excited to draft. Not going to say. Okay, cool. Classic
me. Not gonna say.
Really love that.
But also,
for all
I'm
of
not.
us.
I don't. There isn't one that I need. Like sometimes I'm like, I need the first pick, or I want I want the turn. This I could see how any of them could benefit me. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not one of those situations where I'm like, I need drafter A or drafter B. Like, I need to have the number 1 pick or I need to kick off the draft. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, and hopefully we'll be satisfied with where we end up.
You don't sound very hopeful, Bryan. PTA, rather hopeful guy at the end of his films, you know?
Is that is that
Come
so?
on. I'm interested in drafter B. I'm interested in having that kind of 2 yet determining 1 spot there. I know it comes with a single veto, which again, I'm not too hung up on the vetoes here. But there's also a lot of power in having 10 and 7 as drafter A, right? Like you're kind of determining where some big movies can go. And I know Bryan specifically doesn't want a certain movie in the 10 spot.
But you're right about B. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Controlling the end of the draft.
Controlling the end of the draft, yeah. You know, PTA pretty famously has great control over where his movies go, or lack of control, I guess, depending on how you vibe with him or how you see his scripts. We should draft. Okay, let's draft. Here we go. I've got the wheel of names. This is just a standard wheel of names. This is not a misogynistic wheel of names. This is not coded by any special form or function. It's just a wheel of names, I swear. Whoever gets drawn first will get to pick what drafter they want to be. You can sit on it until, wow, you know, God is real. PTA is real. That's you just love to see it. That's incredible stuff.
If I get last again, I always get last.
No, looking good. Looking good.
Okay.
Well done. Okay. So I'm going to get to pick my drafting spot first. Sophia, you're going to get to pick next. And then Bryan is just going to be left with the remains. Hate to break it to you.
Seems like
Bryan.
a very Bob Ferguson theme.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Little, ghetto Pat action coming at you. Okay. I'm going to take drafter B. I'm going to do it.
Okay.
In preparation for this draft, I will say, I was just like so excited to talk to you guys about PTA. I, in no way, shape, or form was I like, let's be strategic about the actual exercise at hand. I was like, let's just talk about 10 PTA movies. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. This could be really bad. It could be really good.
That's kind of where I was too. I was like, okay, I have my list. I'm excited to talk about these movies.
Exactly.
This is the list, but it's not going to be the list.
Yeah. What are you going to choose in turn?
I'm going to take A, just so I have the 2 vetoes.
Oh, are you feeling defensive? You're the one that came into this and you're like, I'm feeling collaborative.
We'll see.
But
We'll see.
We'll see what happens. Bryan, you're going to be drafter C.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so we'll quickly go over it again. Sophia, you're going to get 1, 4, 7, and 10, 2 vetoes. I've got picks 2, 5, and 8 with a single veto. Bryan, you're going to get 3, 6, and 9 with a veto and a veto override. I'm going to fill out our draft board here on our notes that is not available to look at. So you're just going to have to trust me that I do it correctly. Any pressure, Sophia, you're feeling on number 10 here or what?
I feel good. I actually feel pretty good. Yeah.
You feel pretty good. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, with that in mind, with you feeling pretty good, I think we should start the PTA collaborative draft. So, Sophia, what are you going to play at number 10?
So, I go back and forth between what my personal 9 and 10 are, honestly, for this draft and for just general PTA rankings. But I feel like the right number 10 pick is Sydney or Hard 8. I feel like, it's his first film, and I think in a vacuum and on its own, it's a great film actually. It always keeps me invested, but it's also the one I've seen the least. It is the least really eye-catching and addictive compared to the other PTA films, but I do like the way that the story unfolds here, and I also think that the ideas, though, are a little bit more clear and laid out for you as opposed to some of his other ones that are a little bit trickier. So I think this is more of a consensus number 10, and I'm okay with that. So I'm going to go Hard 8 / Sydney because Sydney was the original title.
Mm-hmm. I kind of like that title. I kind of like Sydney.
I do too.
As a more personal
That's
title.
The alternative letterboxed poster that I have for it.
Ah, I like that. I like that a lot. So I watched Hard 8 for the first time going into this draft, and I think exactly what you said. If you watch this movie in a vacuum, you're like, wow, that's a good movie. Like that's pretty good. Mm-hmm. If you watch it in the PTA, filmography, it's Boogie Nights light. I think like everybody gets that, and I do think it is PTA finding his footing. Interestingly enough, takes place in Reno, which is not California, which is where PTA finds a lot of his movies set, even his period pieces. Works with Gwyneth Paltrow for the singular time, works with Samuel L. Jackson for the singular time, I believe, and is interesting. And I actually really love the casino sequence here, and you can totally see he's really experimenting with what he wants to do in Boogie Nights, where he does it time and time and time again in Boogie Nights. I really like John C. Reilly in this, and of course kind of introduces us to a couple of these really important connections that PTA ends up making all through the 90s and early 2000s, and a lot of his films going back to a lot of the same actors, and Philip Baker Hall as well. But I don't disagree with you at a number 10 spot. It's not my number 10 in my personal list, but I don't see a big issue here.
Yeah. Not my number 10 either, I'll say, but I do think it feels right.
Yeah. Bryan? Stunningly silent.
I was just waiting for your spiel to be done. This is actually my number 10 of my personal ranking.
Okay.
Again, like I said before, my lowest ranking film is at a 4-star, which this film is at and everything. I think it is a really strong debut, but obviously when you compare it to everything that he made following this, it does, I don't want to say pale in comparison because I feel like that's a disservice to the movie, but it's definitely not on the same level as everything that he made after this. But like you guys said, the thing about a debut is that a director is trying to find their footing. They're trying to experiment with what they're going to do going forward. And you could see so much of what he brings now to his movies in this movie that he made almost 30 years ago, which is really amazing because some directors like to separate themselves from their debuts to be like, oh, I've matured so much. Like, I'm not going to showcase anything that I had in my first film, in my like 20th film or whatever. But the pieces that are here, you could see sprinkled throughout every film that he made after this. So yeah, I think it's a really solid debut, and the casino setting is really great. And Phil Baker Hall, honestly, just one of the great character actors that we ever had, just one of a kind, truly. And I had no idea that this was called something else prior to this. Just comes to show how fake of a PTA fan I am, clearly.
Yeah.
But
Do you even watch PTA movies, Bryan? God damn.
I thought this was literally
Bryan.
a parent teacher. I thought this was a
You were under the
parent
wrong
teacher
impression.
association draft. I told you this. No.
You're
in all
waiting for the
seriousness,
coordinates still.
Yeah.
I am indeed.
Don't know what time it is.
Comrade Josh is just really ticking me off right now. So, no, I think this is a good place to put Heart Aid for sure. And yeah, I think that there are people that are like, oh, this is just not that good of a film. I think it is just a really great film. It's just that everything else that he's made after
There's
this,
so many good ones.
So many good ones.
So many good ones. And the fact is, again, like the fact that all 10 of his movies are at least good, that's saying a lot.
Yeah. I think thematically as well, not just technically, you can see what he's doing in this movie, but of course, Philip Baker Hall kind of playing the pseudo father to like a John C. Reilly, even a Gwyneth Paltrow in this movie. Same thing he does in Boogie Nights. Same thing he does in all of his movies, essentially, of this idea of a father figure, a found family, lost family, and those things I think are all very present here. Now, I do want to make like a kind of a programming note real fast. So I am going to go through all the available picks. This was on the note sheet and I skipped right over it. So I think it's important that we and the listeners know all of our available picks here. And I think when we do nominate a movie, let's maybe like read the Letterboxd log line and give a kind of a descriptor of the film or maybe what happens in the movies. That way we can kind of round out before we dive into some things. And then we are, of course, going to be spoiling one battle after another. If you haven't seen it yet, kind of shame on you, but like go see this movie. And of course, anything else. We're going to be like full spoiler territory, so enter at your own risk. Available picks: Heart Eight, we just drafted, 1996. Boogie Nights, 1997. Magnolia, 1999. Punch Drunk Love, 2002. There Will Be Blood in 2007. The Master in 2012. Inherent Vice in 2014. Phantom Thread in 2017. Licorice Pizza in 2021. And One Battle After Another this year in 2025. Okay. Now that is out of the way, I'm getting a little bit more nervous because one is off the board. And Bryan, I'm not saying I don't trust you. I trust you, brother. I trust you, my PTA brother. But what you play here is a big determining factor in how the rest of the draft is going to go.
Yes. No pressure at all now.
No,
saying all that.
None
thank
whatsoever.
you very much for that. Okay. With that being said, it's kind of fitting that number 9 comes to me, and we just put my personal number 10 at number 10.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to draft my personal number 9 at number 9, and that will be Inherent Vice.
Ooh.
My number 9 as well.
Look at
Really?
Yeah.
I see. I like this a little bit more, but that's okay. I understand.
Okay.
Listen,
not your number 9.
It's a tricky one. Not my number 9, but a tricky one to get into. So
I will say that when I watched it a few months ago, it was very close to being up a little higher, but then it kind of lost me a little bit throughout the movie. But I do think that when I watch it the next time, it will go up because I haven't stopped thinking about it since I rewatched it a few months ago. So
yeah, I think for me as well. I think like the next time that I watch Inherent Vice, it will be the like, I don't have to try to figure out where this is going anymore. I can kind of just like vibe with it, which I think is important for a movie like this.
I don't know if you guys would agree with this, and it's totally fine if you don't. Would you guys say that this is not his most maybe his most divisive movie, where it's like even the PTA lovers don't seem to be super high on that. Some of them, not all. Like obviously, Sophia, you're very high on it, but I know a lot of PTA fans who put this towards the bottom because they, it's a hard one to get into and everything.
I think in terms of divisiveness, I would say this or Licorice Pizza are the ones that really kind of separate audiences. I know, like we talked about, we're all very high on Licorice Pizza. But I think what makes Inherent Vice difficult is that when we think about postmodernism, and this is, of course, right, a straight Pynchon adaptation, pretty much. Yep. I think that kind of postmodern style and the meandering nature is very tricky to grab onto compared to some of his other films. And it's why I'm happy. I think that One Battle took a little bit of a different direction when it comes to adaptation. But I was curious, have either of you seen The Long Goodbye, the Altman movie?
Not
No,
yet.
my Altman is like really lacking. And
Okay.
it's
So is mine.
really
So
a
is
shame.
mine, unfortunately.
It's on my watch
This-
list.
This feels, I think that if you watch The Long Goodbye, it will open up Inherent Vice for you a little
Okay.
bit, because that feels like, I think, one of the closer ties to it cinematically. And PTA loves Altman, of course, but if you think like Boogie Nights is Scorsese, Inherent Vice has a lot of Altman touches for
Okay.
sure.
Inherent Vice in Los Angeles at the turn of the 1970s, drug-fueled detective Larry Doc Sportello, who's played by Joaquin Phoenix, investigates the disappearance of an ex-girlfriend who is played by Catherine Waterston, who just like pretty lights out in this movie, in my opinion, delivers some really, really great moments. It's interesting you bring up Licorice Pizza, because when I watched Inherent Vice, I was like, oh, Josh Brolin is like kind of doing some Licorice Pizza things in this movie and like standing in for a lot of these postmodernism ideas. And I'm glad that you brought up the kind of the Pynchon adaptation, because One Battle After Another, very loose Pynchon adaptation as far as my understanding goes. I've not read Vineland, but Inherent Vice, like much more true to the core text. I like this movie. I don't love this movie. I just think it's like a lot to like kind of wrap around personally.
It is.
That's just where I'm at.
Yeah, I've only seen the movie twice, I think, maybe 3 times. I haven't seen this as much as his other films and everything, but what I do really like about the movie, though, is that I definitely appreciate the approach to the neo-noir storytelling. And as someone who loves a period piece, I mean, and he's obviously most of his filmography consists of period pieces and everything.
Right.
Nails the time period, the neo drops, of course, and obviously we'll touch upon those throughout this episode for sure, because that's a staple of what makes his film so great and everything. It's so easy to get lost in this movie, lost in this world. You're so you feel like you're transported into the 70s with this, and the haziness of it all and the very slow vibe of it and everything. Like it's a very interesting film to dissect, and it is, I would say, probably the one film of his filmography to where it does require rewatches to appreciate it, because at least for me, all of his other films I was able to fully grasp on the first watch. Obviously, upon other rewatches, I appreciate them more. But this one, I'm still trying to get my footing with it and everything. But there's so much to love in this movie. And, you know, on top of the production design, the cinematography, and I think the screenplay is really excellent. Some of PTA's funniest material is in this movie. Joaquin, I think, delivers some of his best work. I think Josh Brolin is lights out in this movie, just
really, really
firing on all cylinders, proving that he is a wickedly talented comedic actor. And low key, when I went to TIFF and I was at the premiere of Wake Up Dead Man and Josh Brolin was feet away from me, I did think of him in this movie the whole time. And I'm like, I don't know if I should be laughing or if I'm terrified of you, because there's just it's a very layered performance, multi-layered performance from him, and he's great in this. But
I think
I think one thing. Go ahead.
His character goes down as one of the great PTA screen names as well, Lieutenant Detective Christian F. Bigfoot Bjornson, which I think is really
iconic.
PTA operating on like true PTA levels. Which I think, again, like we've talked about this at the top, but like there's so much. The more you get into PTA, you're like, oh, that's classic PTA. Like only he would think to do that. Only he would be that funny or that dirty or that sexually provocative in certain some kind of sequences or scenes. And this is one of those characters. But go ahead, Bryan.
Yeah, it's just one of those cases to where the movie goes around in circles, and sure, it's not going to work for everybody. Obviously, this film has its lovers. It obviously also has its haters and everything, but I think it going around in circles so much makes me personally interested in revisiting it more and more. And while I admittedly haven't seen this movie as many times as I would like, it's one that I could see myself appreciating much more as the time goes on. And yeah, it's just a really fascinating film in his filmography. And I also think it was an interesting one to follow up the film he made before this with. Like, he could have done something very, very different, and he did, but the fact that he did this very, like, low-key, like, stoner comedy type of thing. I thought it was really genius. And now that I'm talking about it more and having gotten both of
You're
your
liking it
perspectives
more.
on it, now I'm like, you know what? It might
Yeah.
move up in my personal ranking of PTA. I'm going to keep it here at 9, though. And obviously, if you guys are willing to, or if you guys have
I'm good with
reasons to
9.
move it higher, I understand. It's totally fine and everything. But I think this is a good spot. Because again,
I think
not
it's
to
a good
sound like a
spot.
broken record,
Yeah.
everything he's made is good. So it's like,
Yeah.
you know.
I think
I think I like this more than both of you, but it's still in my bottom half of PTA movies,
Okay.
and I think it does take a lot of time to get into it. But I will encourage you to watch it again, just because the cool thing about it is then you start to see that melancholy that we were talking about. Like, this is a deeply melancholic and nostalgic movie in so many ways.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, great character names, but I'm okay with it here. That's fine.
Yeah, I know we don't have our names listed on our little video bubbles here, but your name in the background is Shasta Faye, so I do want to give credit. Off mic before we recorded, we were actually talking about Inherent Vice. So, funnily enough, I think has sticking power. Bryan, I like what you mentioned. He makes The Master in 2012, does kind of zags, makes Inherent Vice in 2014, goes back to PTA, quote unquote, with Phantom Thread in 2017. In a lot of the press for One Battle After Another, he's talked about how, again, he zagged with Licorice Pizza and was like, let's just do that, even though he's been writing One Battle After Another for 20 years. And then the time finally came. So I think that like run of 5 is super fascinating. And the movies and having these kind of sandwiches of different styles is, I think it's really interesting in PTA's career, for sure. So Inherent Vice at 9. We're all good with that. We're going to keep that there. Okay. Hong Chow in Inherent Vice, by the way, really good. And I want her in more PTA movies. Not sure that'll happen, but that's okay. Yeah. And were PTA and Maya Rudolph married? They were married at this time, right? In 2014. They've been married for a while.
They've been together since like 2001,
They've been together
2?
for a while.
For a long time. Okay. Yeah. So casting Maya Rudolph in this movie, I think is really great too. And I think the subtext of One Battle After Another and these kind of interracial, biracial families, children, generational problems with that. I think their life is that. And so however much you want to read into One Battle After Another, I think there's a lot of things to be said about that as well. Eric Roberts is in this movie too. It's crazy.
Martin Short, crazy. Just,
yeah,
the ensemble
as the
here.
Dentist. It does relate to One Battle After Another in a lot of ways, which is like it must be the Pynchon in it, where I
think so.
It has those very core things, right? Like we're doing what we do in Inherent Vice with like that dentist's club and the fang, whatever it's called, the Golden Fang, I think, or something like that, is kind of what we're doing with the Christmas Adventures Club, just on a very scaled back level. There's a lot of those ideas there. Okay. Enough vamping. I'm just trying not to have to pick 8. So we've picked 10 and 9. I'm going to pick 8. So my 10 has been left on the board. My 9 is off. My 8 is off. I'm going to go back to what my 10 is. And I'm really curious where you guys fall on this, because I think I'm on the outs on this one. So I don't know if this will be our first point of contention. But at number 8, I'm going to be nominating 2002's Punch Drunk Love. This is a movie that, while I fundamentally think it is a good movie, I just don't really connect to it. I got to be honest with you guys. Like, I just don't. The character of Barry, played by Adam Sandler, is just a little bit too awkward for me, and it's a little bit too just kind of like up in the air. And I know, again, like, PTA is doing a lot of PTA things here where you do get that melancholy and you get this, of course, very powerful line. I have a love in my life that makes me stronger than anything you can imagine. We get a very pivotal Philip Seymour Hoffman role in this movie. Shut up, shut up, shut up. One of only 3 contemporary films that PTA has made about a small business owner meets the love of his life after being threatened by a gang of scammers, which would be Adam Sandler, and meets Emily Watson. It just doesn't work for me. I don't know. Like, I got to be honest. I don't really know what else to say about this. It's 96 minutes, which I think makes it PT's shortest movie, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's really a factor here, but just not mine. Just not my PTA movie.
Yeah. I mean, this is my number 10. So
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah, I thought about picking it at 10, but it just didn't feel quite right to pick and put it there because I know so many people love this movie. It's just one that I personally have never found a way into.
Mhm.
I like it, but I don't love it. I think that the filmmaking is actually great. Like the direction I really, really like, but it is like some of the dialogue and the script itself it just never let me in the way that some of his others really have. And I think Sandler is good, and I like the explosive performances in PTA's filmography, but this is of all of those, not my favorite there too. It's just always, I don't know, there's always been a wall up between me and this movie, and I'm determined to like it one day because it feels like I like it. I want to love it one day.
Yeah.
Because it feels weird that I don't, but I just can't vibe with it yet.
For me, on a rewatch, so this is one of the movies I rewatched for this, going into one battle after another, and specifically for this pod. Really, the first 10 minutes are really hard to pierce for me. The piano shows up in the street, and then you get Emily Watson's character dropping off her car, and the narrative kind of takes place after that, and to me, it's just like, it doesn't really, it's not very effective for me to like jump in. So then by the time I jump in, we're 25 minutes in and Barry has just ran through a screen door. And I'm only in because it's like, wow, that's insane. And also like you're being scammed by a phone hooker. Like those are interesting things happening in and of themselves. It's just not the whole package. Bryan, where are you at on this movie?
So it's funny that we just keep riding on my list because this is my number 8 in my personal ranking.
We are 100% on Bryan's vibe right now.
But I will say that similar to how Sophia is with Inherent Vice, where she likes it more than me and Ethan, I like this movie way more than the two of you. I think that this movie is genuinely outstanding, and I admittedly, of a lot of his films, this used to be very high in my ranking. Like this used to be like top 4 for me. Like this was very high about 2, maybe 3 years ago for me. And then just rewatching a lot of his other movies, I'm like, it kept going down and down and down for me. And I understand the criticisms for sure. I totally get where both of you are coming from with this, but I connect a lot to this movie in a sense to where like I knew someone in my personal life that was similar to the character of Barry Egan, and so there's a bit of a personal attachment to the movie in that regard. And I also just adore Serious Sandler. Like I ride very high for Serious Sandler, and I just watched Jay Kelly 2 nights ago, and his performance literally moved me to tears. I loved it so much, and I cannot wait to hype up the performance for the rest of the year and everything. But Punch Drunk Love is one of those films to where it is not as strong as his other films for sure. And what's funny is that with it being his shortest film, you would think like, oh, this is one that's the easiest to rewatch considering the fact that it's only an hour and a half movie. Surprisingly, it's not the most rewatchable of his filmography, which is kind of crazy. Not that it drags or anything, not that the 96-minute runtime ruins the movie or anything, but it's just not as compelling as the other ones. But I do love the sequences that are very quiet and intimate as opposed to solely just loving the very explosive in-your-face sequences. I think that when PTA puts quieter moments in his movies, those are the moments that kind of stick out to me a lot because, you know, we get the explosive yelling sequences, we get the very funny comical sequences as well, but then when we get the more raw intimate sequences, I think that they really stand out in a nice way and complement everything around them. So I love Punch Drunk Love, and I am perfectly fine with it being number 8, not only because like I can't see it being any higher, but because of how it is on my personal list. This is the perfect spot to put it in.
Okay. Wow. We're aligned so far. Hopefully we withstand any bloodbaths after this as well. Of course, I did mention Philip Seymour Hoffman's role in this movie. I think is quite good, and they're kind of toe to toe that we get at the end, especially thinking. And I know we're all doing this now. We're all thinking in relation to One Battle After Another, where we don't get the Leo Lockjaw standoff, right? Like we do get this in Punch Drunk Love, and I actually think there's like a lot of gems in this movie. Sandler, I don't like myself sometimes. I think there's like PTA really wearing his heart on his sleeve with his screenplay in this one, but it feels like misplaced to me. I did want to mention Inherent Vice nominated for 2 Academy Awards, Best Adapted Screenplay and Costume Design. Heart 8, no nominations, and Punch Drunk Love, no nominations. I call these out because PTA is 0 for 11 when it comes to the Academy Awards. Something I think that's important as we near closer to March and the reception that One Battle is getting with the general public and the critics alike is important. So I don't know if that'll have any standing on where we put a certain movie, but it's important to note nonetheless.
Could I also just say before we move on to number 7 and everything, similar to what I was saying about Inherent Vice, of how he followed up The Master with Inherent Vice and everything, the fact that he followed a 3-hour epic with a 90-minute rom-com, that's so sick in my opinion. I think that's really, really dope.
And back-to-back brilliant Philip Seymour Hoffman performances.
Truly. I mean, of course, PSH not in There Will Be Blood, but he comes back for The Master in 2012. He's in Boogie Nights, he's in Magnolia, he's in Punch Drunk Love, he's in The Master. And then of course PTA works with his son Cooper Hoffman in Licorice Pizza in 2021. We'll talk about that when we get there. I think there's a lot to be said about like the Magnolia of everything, and I want to save that conversation for whenever that is going to be. But following it up with Punch Drunk Love again, like I think he's doing what we just talked about. He does The Master, he zags, and he makes Inherent Vice. He does Phantom Thread, he zags, he makes Licorice Pizza. He does One Battle After Another in 2025. Like, what's the next zag? Like, what's he doing in 28?
Is it going to be another vibes movie? We'll have to see.
Are we getting a 100-minute pure vibes?
That's what I want.
Please.
I would want nothing more.
Unbelievable. I think my head would implode if that happened.
Me too.
I'm waiting for that jazz movie that he was considering making with Denzel. I still want that to happen.
I'm low-key. I'm glad that none of this press has been like, so what's next? Like people are just like letting One Battle
they're just vibing with the battle.
They're just vibing with it. It's so nice. It's so great.
Let the man take his time with what he's cooking next.
Yeah. And I think part of the bigger conversation and the reason I bring up the Academy Awards is like in March is he going to be the king of Hollywood? Is One Battle After Another going to be nominated for 11 Academy Awards by itself? Is it going to win 6? Right? Like what is going to happen on the night? I think we should like kind of continue that conversation as we go through here. So Sophia, we're back to you. We're back at 7. I'm feeling really confident, really good about this list so far.
Okay. Me too.
Okay, great.
I think one of you might use a veto on this pick.
This could be big. Can I guess where you're going to go?
Sure. You can guess.
Brian, do you have an idea where she's going to go?
Well, now that she said the veto,
I know.
I'm worried
that's kind of why I want to guess.
I don't know.
I mean, you're welcome to use one. This is okay. So I'm going to say I love this movie. This is a 5-star movie to me.
Okay, but let's put it at number 7. That makes sense.
But we're going to put it at number 7 because I'm thinking, I mean, there are a lot of 5 stars for me. This is my personal number 6.
Okay.
I'll say that. But I think if we're thinking of PTA's filmography overall, it makes sense to put Licorice Pizza at 7.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Hold on. Before Brian has an aneurysm on the pod.
Okay.
Licorice Pizza, also my personal number 6.
Okay.
Really interesting. Also a 5-star movie in my opinion.
Yeah. We're getting into dicey territory.
Yeah. I think from here on out, it's going to be some hurt feelings no matter what's nominated.
Yeah.
I know Brian doesn't like this.
Give you worst film I've ever seen. The absolute worst thing that has ever been made in cinema history.
You have a veto, Brian.
You do.
Well,
You can use
I
it.
want to hear what
You have a
Sophia
veto
has to
and a
say.
veto override. Okay.
You do.
So Licorice Pizza, a film I adore. This is the story of Gary Valentine, played by Cooper Hoffman, like you just mentioned, Ethan, and Alana Kane, played by Alana Haim. They're growing up, running around, going through the treacherous navigation of first love in the San Fernando Valley in 1973. I think this is a beautiful, hilarious movie. It is, I think, on its surface, a romantic comedy, but the way that it pivots from Gary's story to Alana's, and it becomes really, I mean, a story of that melancholy again just really seeps into it. I adore it. But I think when I'm thinking of some of the films we have coming up, those feel a little bit bigger and they have a little bit more weight in PTA's filmography. I'm not, again, if you want to use a veto, I can go to another pick. I'm happy to move this up, but I just am proposing it here.
It's a pretty bold play of you, the only person who has 2 vetoes, to play this here. That's a power play. Before we decide, Bryan, because I think we should sidebar on this, and I think it's important to have this conversation.
Please.
Nominated for 3 Academy Awards. Nominated for Best Picture, nominated for Best Director, and nominated for Best Original Screenplay. Of course, we talked about divisive films earlier with Inherent Vice. I do think Licorice Pizza is PTA's most divisive, and I think the general consensus, or what the mass public would point to, is the age gap between Gary Valentine and Alana Haim's character of Alana Kane. I think that is just like truly PTA. Like being like this is what childhood is about, and I frankly I totally agree with you. I'm not to discredit. I think like if people think that you have your opinions and you do you, but like I don't care. I think that is like I don't want to say like too many things, but I don't think it's like outside of the realm of reality, right? Of like a young boy falling in love with someone who is older than him and exhibits things in a mature woman that he's greatly fascinated in, and he can't figure out if it's an attraction, an interest, fascination. She has a magnetic kind of whirlwind about her, and he can't get enough.
Right?
Exactly.
It's a movie about crushes. Yeah.
Sean Penn in this movie is Jack Holden, riding his motorcycle across the valley, and like the generational impact of love and relationships. Gary to Alana to Jack, these big age generational divides of what we look for in a partner and someone we want to spend time around is important. Benny Safdie's great in this movie. Bradley Cooper's great in this movie.
Lights out Bradley Cooper.
PTA needs to work with Coops again so badly. So badly. Bryan, let's get down to brass tacks. I don't feel like you're happy with this, brother. I don't feel like you're going to be, if we end this pod in an hour, you're going to look at this and you're going to say, I fucked up. We should have had it higher. I don't know.
Here's the thing. I feel like a lot of the people in our circle, I might be the highest and maybe the most passionate about Licorice Pizza. You can't see it in the frame because it's on the other side, but I have a Licorice Pizza poster in my apartment. My first vinyl was the Licorice Pizza soundtrack given to me by one of my best friends. Shout out Jenna. She even gave me a Licorice Pizza VHS as a birthday gift, which is just so near and dear to my heart and everything. While in my personal ranking, this is much higher, which obviously that might be a very hot thing to say and everything, because I know where some people stand on this movie and everything. Sophia makes a very good case to where if we're ranking PTA's films, there are obviously films that are much stronger than this one. That being said, this is a very, very, very special film for me. When I saw this film for the first time, I was not really doing well in my life, and this movie kind of reinvigorated me in ways that I didn't think that I could find ever again. And I watched this movie probably close to 10 times in the theater. I've seen the movie about 40 times since, although Letterboxd is lying. I think I've only watched it maybe like 11 or 12 times. And, not to get into another like spiel or anything, this is the film that me and Sophia started our friendship over. So this is a very special film in that regard to me
Wow.
and
We
everything.
Lord, look at
a
that.
pod on your show about it.
You were the
Was it the
second
first
episode,
Second
the
episode.
second episode of the pod. And then we were just
Special.
when we first became friends, we were like, OMG, we were literally at the same Q&A together at the Film at Lincoln Center, which was still like top 5
The
theater
best
experience
Q&A ever.
the best, the literal best Q&A
It was
of all
such a
time.
good Q&A.
But no, everything you guys said about this movie, it's so beautiful and it's moving and it's funny, incredible performances. And the fact that PTA was like, I'm going to have 2 people who have never acted before headline my film, and they give 2 of the best performances, in my opinion, of that year, to where Alana Haim should have been nominated for Best Actress. And Cooper Hoffman, you know, a lot of people were like, oh, he's just in this movie because his daddy worked with PTA. No, he delivered the lights out performance as well and showcased that he's more than just Philip Seymour Hoffman's son. He's Cooper Hoffman, his own actor. And I mean, look at the career that he's gotten so far in his short amount of time on screen. And yeah, the Bradley Cooper performance, my favorite.
Isn't there a
performance of
cut
his.
with a greater, with like a more of a Cooper performance?
You know
Yeah.
whose fault it is that it got cut?
No.
Sean Penn.
What?
Sean Penn
Oh.
told PTA
Cut it.
that it didn't fit in the rest of the film.
Crazy stuff.
Mhm.
Wow.
When I found that out,
I'm
I
a
was
little
genuinely
shocked.
like, I was also shocked. when I
Lockjaw
found that out.
himself.
Sean Penn's in this movie for like 7 minutes. I don't know
Yeah.
why we're listening to what his take is on that.
Oh,
I
That's
don't
crazy.
know. I remember
Okay.
reading that in an interview.
Well, wasn't that one of the biggest? That was the biggest thing when this trailer came out. People were like, "Wow, Bradley Cooper like going to town on cars and vinyl and doing
People
crazy
thought
shit."
And
he
that
would win the
scene
Oscar,
wasn't
I
even
remember.
Right, not in the movie for that scene.
it was in the credits, but it wasn't in the actual film
Right.
when they were doing the title cards, being like Bradley Cooper as John Peters.
Yeah. And I remember the
That's crazy.
reasoning being that is when, so the film, I think in that scene pulled away from Gary and Alana, and the rest of the movie is either with Gary or Alana or both of them. And that was I think the reason why he took it out.
So
Well, that's too bad.
fascinating.
That's really
so
too bad.
fascinating.
I think an important note with Licorice Pizza is, as many of these films are, I kind of mentioned briefly with One Battle After Another and some other things, that, of course, this movie takes place in San Fernando Valley in the 70s. PTA raised in the San Fernando Valley. A lot of his movies take place in and around this area of California. And I think, like, as a kind of a filmmaker's study, is him trying to kind of recapture what he saw at that point in his life, and how he viewed the world. I always love I guess, you know, it kind of goes hand in hand with Punch Drunk Love that we were just talking about, the small businessman feature of Gary here, and owning waterbeds, going into pinball, and, you know, kind of does things that Boogie Nights does, right? Like, turn of the century, things are legal, things are changing. We can expand our horizons outside of this little kind of mini culture that we've been kind of surrounded in. Isn't this movie that we get the infamous Skylar Gisondo Bien?
Yes,
line,
yes, it
right?
is.
On the airplane.
I love
Okay,
that
great.
scene
It's-
so
Yeah.
much.
And just like the perfect needle drops every single time, just like them coming to the plane. Our love is alive. It's so good. It's
The
incredible stuff.
the editing in this movie is absolutely flawless. This is Andy Jurgensen, who also did One Battle After Another. Brilliant editing there too. But I love just how this movie flows. I can't believe I picked it at number 7. I'm talking about it so
crazy.
lovingly.
It's
I think
just-
Yeah.
it's
Again,
so
he
good.
has so many great films. It's like
Mhm.
that's the thing with this man, is that he just always fires on all cylinders. And yeah, and there's all these quotable sequences and these great little appearances from all these other character actresses. It would be remiss of me and you as well, Sophia, to not mention Harriet Sampson Harris. Just like,
You're a goddamn fucking fighter, aren't you?
oh my God, just truly incredible stuff. Just fantastico.
This is, of course, where PTA works with Leo's father and George DiCaprio. Worth mentioning, and finally
A real
working-
life waterbed salesman, by the way.
Yeah. Oh wow. Okay. That's interesting. In addition to this, pulling his strings that he does. He has made several music videos for the Haim sisters and employs all of them in this film. Of course, Alana is the lead, but then her actual sisters are her sisters in the film. And I think that leads to some of the greatest comedic moments that we see in some PTA movies to date. And
their parents.
Shout out her dad,
Donna.
a literal scene stealer. Excuse me,
yeah.
what the fuck?
Really good stuff. Cool. So this movie that we all love is at 7. And that's where we're gonna land on that.
No vetoes. We're good with it here.
No, I got bigger fish to fry. I think your argument is airtight. I think Licorice Pizza is a 5-star, wonderful film that is so contained and so small in scope compared to the rest of PTA's filmography that it would be a little silly to put it above some of these other movies.
Agreed.
Okay, Bryan, you've got number 6. Licorice Pizza, personally, this is where we divest from your list, I would assume.
Correct.
Okay, so we went 10, 9, 8. We're all in perfect order.
Mm-hmm.
Licorice Pizza, not your number 7 on your personal.
That is correct.
Okay, all right. Okay, you have the number 6, Bryan.
Okay. It's shocking to me that we're almost halfway through the list and no one has used their vetoes yet. And I'd be very curious if that's going to happen now. I don't think it will, though.
I'm
That's
nervous.
The thing.
I think it will. I have a feeling what you're about to say won't land.
I don't think so. We'll have to see. So for number 6, I'm going to be drafting The Master.
Oh,
okay. Sophia not thrilled about this.
Oh.
Okay.
So
I have The Master at my number 7. So we have essentially swapped my 6 and 7.
Yeah.
So I'm okay. Sophia not okay.
Well, before Sophia says her piece, I'll just say mine. So
talk about The Master a little bit, Bryan.
So The Master follows Freddie, a heavy drinking veteran who suffers from PTSD, and he finds semblance of a family when he stumbles upon to the ship of Lancaster Dodd. Freddie, played by Joaquin Phoenix, and Lancaster Dodd, played by Philip Seymour Hoffman, who is the charismatic leader of a new religion he forms after World War II.
Mm-hmm.
This is another film to where it's definitely one that requires multiple viewings to fully grasp. And this was one where, admittedly, when I first saw it, I did not like this movie when I first watched it, simply because I don't think I was in the right headspace when I watched it. And then I watched it a few years later. I did a whole PTA binge like during COVID and everything where I reevaluated a lot of his work. So this was right before Licorice Pizza came out, just a year ahead of that. And my whole perception on this movie changed. And, obviously the thing that it tackles, like, obviously this is a movie that is about Scientology. Scientology isn't said in this movie. They refer to it as the cause. Mm-hmm. And I think that is a movie that says so much. It says so much, but it's also a film that showcases some of the more vulnerable and quieter sides together in this movie. This is my favorite Joaquin Phoenix performance. I don't think he's ever been better. Personally, I think this is the best acting that he's ever done. Amy Adams, a performance that a lot of people don't talk about, unfortunately, when it comes to this movie. I know that this really is Joaquin and Philip Seymour Hoffman's showcase and everything, but the work that Amy Adams does here is really underrated, and I think that more people need to talk about that. But in my opinion, the MVP of this movie is Philip Seymour Hoffman, and it's so sad watching the movie now, knowing that this was the last time that they worked together and everything before he passed away. There's moments with with Lancaster that still stick with me to this day. There's this shot of where he's like sitting down and he's about to have his picture taken. And I don't know what it is about that moment. It's such a devastating scene. Go ahead.
This is the clip that we put in the hype video for our calendar release this month.
Yes.
Something so magnetic about him looking down and then looking up.
Oh my
that just
God.
Pierces your soul. Can I put a pause real fast, Bryan? Because if Sophie's going to veto this, I want to allow
Sophie's not here. This is Sophia.
Later. Sophia, excuse me. If Sophia is going to, I'm the more you talk about this movie, the more that I think this is not the right spot. But who am I to say? I only have one veto.
So, okay. I have this at 5. So it's kind of like
Oh,
5.
you'd really fight for it
6.
at 5?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure we're using our time
to hear it
here.
at 6.
Instead of
Like we're like, oh, we're talking about the master already. That feels wrong.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I love this film. I think its depiction of toxicity and tragedy is brilliant. I think there's really I would say a trio of films that PTA has made that really capture the American saga, right? Or the saga that is this country. And this is one of them. And I think it does so in such a strange way that is so signature PTA. But I find this movie just so beguiling and endlessly just rewatchable, really, which I think people would probably disagree with. I've seen this movie so many times just to try to kind of get inside these characters a little bit and understand them. And I think that, I mean, this is my favorite Philip Seymour Hoffman performance in his career. So I think that's maybe why I bristled at the 6 pick a little bit, just because I think he's so essential.
Listen, it's not one that I'm proud of putting here either, but like the 5 and 6, like this would be number 6 on my personal ranking and everything.
Okay.
It goes back and forth with the film that we might put at 5. I don't know if we don't keep this at number 6 and everything, but no, everything that you were saying is totally true. And it's a film that simply does linger with you. And a lot of his films do that and everything. But I think that this is the one, at least for me, that lingered the most with me, to where despite me not liking it the first time I watched it, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I just wanted to go online and read all these analysis about it, watch all these videos, read all these interviews and yada yada. And I just think that what it's tackling is so fascinating for him. And again, like, it's always interesting when you go through his filmography and you just see what he follows up what with. And the fact that he did There Will Be Blood and then did this, it's so interesting. And also, Sophia, I know that you're a big proponent of 70s cinema. The filmmaking of this, like the storytelling and the scope of it, just feels like it was something out of the 70s. And like them shooting on 65 millimeter and the very sweeping shots. It feels
like it was made in another time. Yes,
it does.
absolutely.
The grand score and all these performances and everything, just everything about it feels like, you know, like you said, maybe some of that Altman would have made or something that another filmmaker would have done. But now you're making me regret put this in number 6.
So, yeah, let's.
Are we gonna do our first veto? Or
No. I'm not.
I'm not going to veto it to move it up one spot. That just feels kind of silly.
Well, okay. I mean, you know, we could strike a deal if you want it moved up higher than 5. Like, don't sell me short here. I'm willing to work.
I don't think so, because I love there are other films that I love more than The Master that are coming.
Couple things that I want to say about The Master. Some housekeeping. Nominated for 3 Academy Awards. Joaquin Phoenix, leading role. Philip Seymour Hoffman, supporting role. Amy Adams, supporting actress. Nobody won. And I think that's the fucking crime against humanity. Not nominated for cinematography, not nominated for score, those types of things. A couple quotes that I want to say real fast that I think are really imperative to the PTA experience that find themselves in The Master. That is PTA. I read as talking about himself, his life, cinema at large. This is something you do for 1 billion years or not at all. This isn't fashion. And that's, of course, from Lancaster Dodd speaking to Freddie about their connection and the cause, and Freddie's continual kind of come and go nature that they have, this magnetism that they share, and the idea to be so hooked on something that you have to commit yourself to it for 1 billion years. When we're in love, we experience pleasure and extreme pain. I think that's greatly tied to every single thing that PTA has kind of ever done. And then the last one I want to mention, another Lancaster Dodd quote here. I am a writer, a doctor, a nuclear physicist, and a theoretical philosopher. But above all, I am a man, a hopelessly inquisitive man, just like you. What Philip Seymour Hoffman is doing in this movie is pretty unparalleled, I think, to maybe like anything that's really ever been done, especially in a PTA movie. And I think it really finds itself in the PTA sweet spot of, Dodd's character writing this novel called The Split Saber and him making these very phallic jokes that are ultimately like the core of this melancholy that a lot of these male characters feel. Freddie Quell, of course, kind of enraptures the idea of submitting yourself to something and then being let down by that something, even when you achieve that something. And the movie ends with him actually having sex with a real woman, only for him to be dreaming about the sandcastle mermaid. And there's a lot of good things in The Master. The more I talk about it, the more I fall in love with this movie. But you're right. There are movies. There will be blood. Phantom Thread. Like, these are movies we haven't even discussed yet that just are a little bit extra special. Boogie Nights has not been discussed yet. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention an all-time famous hand job given by Amy Adams here.
The saddest one.
To Philip Seymour Hoffman. Just completely core PTA. Where it's just like, you can have this, but you're still pretty fucking sad. And it's really something. So The Master is great. Loses all of these Academy Awards to other movies that I think are just like not really talked about on a level that The Master is, which is a shame. But I'm not going to veto this movie. I really like it. 4.5 stars. I think it's really special, especially the sequence of them playing the game. This game is called Pick a Point. You're going to pick a point and you're going to drive there as fast as you can.
I love that scene.
That's PTA, man. Like, that's exactly what PTA is doing in everything that he does, which is so interesting to me.
I think it's just it's also possibly his most visually stunning film. Just the look of it, the cinematography, the feel, that green and those rich colors. I could just stare at this movie forever.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, like within his filmography, so often of a man that submits himself or fantasizes or muses about a woman, as Lancaster does with Peggy, this is about Freddie and Lancaster. This is about their relationship. And I think in my most recent review, when I did rewatch this movie for this pod, I just wrote down a quote, "How do you find me? We're tied together." And this is, of course, Freddie sitting in the cinema, receiving a call from Dodd, who's now in England, who is very far away from him physically, and he still finds him, which is really miraculous. Okay, we have praised The Master to a substantial amount, so we're going to put it at 6, and it's not even going to crack the top 5 of the PTA collaborative draft, but nonetheless, here we are.
It's just so good. If you already know the answer to your question, then why ask?
Why
Pig
ask?
Fuck.
God, yeah, Pig Fuck is classic. Okay, that brings me to 5. And here at number 5, I think is where things get a little dicey. And
we've been saying that since number 9, buddy.
But things have gotten progressively more on edge, I would argue.
There's a reason I've saved my vetoes.
I know.
And it might be now.
I know you did. So we're just gonna do it. We're just gonna excavate this cave together. Number 5, I am gonna be positing Phantom Thread in this position.
And I am going to be playing a veto.
Okay, great.
As you fucking should.
Okay. All right. So that's happened. Okay. Well, I knew that was going to happen. So let's save our Phantom Thread conversation for when we discuss. I think we should keep those together. Because of this, because of you, Sophia, this list now possibly in shambles. Not to place blame or anything like that. I'm gonna go just in line. I'm just going in line. Phantom Thread was my number 5. So I'm gonna trod forward to my number 4, which I don't think will be met with great grace either. At number 4, I'm gonna be playing, at number 5, I'm gonna be playing There Will Be Blood.
Fucking veto.
Okay.
Okay, so 1 and 1. Let's go, Bryan. We're good.
Okay, wait. So we do need to address a logistical nature here, and I think it's important to call out.
There's nothing logistic about this.
No, about how vetoes work. So Sophia, you do have this right of first refusal because you did get spun first on the spinner. So if you choose not to play a veto, it will then fall to Bryan. So I would assume in this case you would like Bryan to play a veto. So you're gonna pass, and Bryan, are you gonna play a veto here?
Hell yeah, I am.
Okay, once again, Here we go. List in complete fucking shambles from this point on. I don't think you guys know we have to rank these movies. They can't all be number one.
I know, but 2 Daniel Day-Lewis movies back to back?
Yeah, come on.
on.
What are you going to do?
Come on.
Okay. So I can't play Phantom Thread, and I can't play There Would Be Blood. Now, this is interesting because, Sophia, you do have another veto. So if whatever I play next, if you do veto it, that could work. But Bryan, you do have the veto override. So that could make things spicy as well. I fundamentally disagree with this take, but nonetheless, here we
Oh
are.
my God.
At number 5, I'm going to be playing One Battle After Another.
Oh, man.
You have forced this. You have forced my hand. It doesn't feel right, doesn't.
But you really would put Magnolia and Boogie Nights above this?
I am merely a man. You know?
Oh,
I'm merely a
man.
sad white man that PTA has elicited to so well.
Okay, Bryan, let's strategize here. Let's work together.
Oh, jeez.
Okay. So I think what's going to happen, so if I use my last veto here and you don't override it, I think that this is rough. You should have played Magnolia at 6 because I think we could have done a little magic here.
You didn't account for the fact that I would have vetoed Magnolia at 6.
I
That
know,
would
and
not
then
have
you'd be
paid
out of
well.
vetoes.
Well,
and
look
then
at
you
me
would have
now.
played the master. Okay, but anyway, I think if let's talk through this. So if I veto One Battle, then he's gonna have to play Boogie Nights because he likes Magnolia more.
You're talking about me like I'm not here. I'm here. I
I
hear
know.
what you're saying.
I know. And then I can play. One Battle at 5 just doesn't feel right, but it's also on the newer side. So I don't think
it's smart to play this at 5. I don't think it's good. Like, I don't think in the time that we're in right now, I don't think it's good.
But I think you should make that call because you're the drafter, not me.
Don't put this on me. You played
But you're the pick.
You
You're the
vetoed
picker.
Phantom Threat.
Yeah, because Phantom
we
Thread,
coulda had-
I think
We could have had a
Phantom Thread
perfect
is
list.
better. No. Phantom Thread at 5 would not have been a perfect list. I think that
In my
it's
world.
on you to determine what should be at 5 because I have played in a very collegial way.
Yeah,
I think.
Sure.
And I think that
Uh-huh.
at 5 we should maybe think about like what's more of one of his like more unwieldy older movies, maybe when he was young. I don't know.
I don't know. You know, it sounds like you could probably make
I
that
just
call
think
at
it's
4.
on you, and I just think it's on you and not on me because I already played a veto and Bryan did as well.
Honestly, that's like classic guest material. Everybody that comes on, they're just like, well, I'm pretty sure that was a you problem, not a me problem.
Yeah, I think it's a you
Yeah.
problem. I think you determine what goes at 5.
Well, I have formally submitted One Battle After Another. So you and Bryan, whatever your sidebar is here that has ultimately amounted to nothing, will have to
Yeah.
resolve of some form or fashion.
Such a stump because like if we vetoed this, like
You should play it
I
out, though.
know.
I think Sophia had a good idea. I think play it out for a second. So
If we play it
So-
out, so then he
Sophia
goes,
vetoes.
He's gonna go with Boogie Nights here. Okay. Then if we go to 4, my 4 would be Magnolia, which then Ethan would have to veto.
This is great podcasting, by the way. You're totally telling. You're midsummering this pod.
I am.
Yeah.
And then I think we could work on. I think One Battle at 4 feels better than at 3. But also,
You want to go to all this trouble just to bump it up to 4?
no,
It's a
I
lot
think
of
it's top
work.
3. I'm very clear on my top 3, and I think it's top 3.
I do too. I do too.
it's not in top 3 yet for me because my
Bryan's
top
gonna be the breaker. Wow.
because my top 3 are just a bit more special for me, and but also it's too new. I don't know. This is a very tricky situation because everything that's going forward is a 5-star movie. Like the thing is,
Yeah.
like everything that goes forward, that's 5 stars. It's not like we're picking a 4-star movie and then everything else is 5. No, everything else is a 5-star that's on the list. So it's
Yeah.
This is a very tricky list to put together. This is very difficult.
Yeah, it's tricky.
And I am stressed like Bob, okay? I'm stressed.
I mean,
I think
only
you should play your
argument
veto,
for it being
see what
here
happens.
is just how new it is, right? Like, I think that's the only argument for it being that low. But I still feel like it's stronger than something like Magnolia or Boogie Nights.
That's so rude. Like you're just solely attacking the only movie that I want to fight for.
Those are just my opinions, I will say. Because Phantom Thread and There Will Be Blood, I've just had more time with too. So
let's look at this for a second. So one battle after another right now at time of recording, which is Wednesday, October 1st, is sitting at a 4.4 curve on Letterboxd. Magnolia, a movie that's been out for 26 years, that is quite infamously, I wouldn't say divisive, but is like so PTA, where if you don't like it, you really don't like it. Is at a 4.2. Like that's pretty close. It's closer than I thought it would be. I don't appreciate you attacking my beloved Magnolia. That's all I'll say.
I love it. Look, I love it too.
Play your veto. See what happens. I want to put the ball in Bryan's court. He's got an override. Or he could let it slide.
No, I'm not wasting my second veto on one play.
Oh,
it's up to you. It's up to you if you want the people to support your number 5 pick of One Battle.
The people. Okay, well, I did put it forward, so I'm not going to veto myself. So we are going to be having our One Battle after another conversation.
You guys make it seem like the number 5 is like a terrible place to put it.
It's number 5 on a list of 10. That's not ideal. When somebody looks at this graphic, they're looking at the top 3. That's all they're looking at. They're looking at 1 and 2 and 10. And
listen, man. Do we really want to play all of our vetoes on one turn? Do we really want to do that?
Yeah, you could have done it. Okay,
you should have just vetoed the master. You should have just done that to make it easier. You should have done that.
I'm actually coming around to One Battle at 5. Like I think Sophie is right. We're fairly new with this movie, of course. We have all seen it multiple times. Between the 3 of us, we've seen this movie 13 times. That's unusual. I don't think that many people are like seeing this movie that many times. I do think there's a very special situation, of course, happening. We mentioned the VistaVision, the 70mm IMAX, the film print of it all. I went to go see this last Saturday. The movie had been out. It was the first Saturday, so it had only technically been out for 24 hours or so. But an 11 a.m. screening, a line around the block to get in 45 minutes before the screening started. The hype is real for One Battle after another. And I think the movie is the real deal. I would argue that it is the best of the year, if not one of the greatest of the 2020s, for sure. Within the confines of the PTA filmography, the only reason that I can find to not put this higher is that we've had more times with other movies. Like Boogie Nights, I have a much more personal connection to than seeing One Battle after another for 3 times in the theater, right? Like that's special, sure, but like Boogie Nights has, Magnolia has, Phantom Thread has these very personal connections. So I feel like at 5, it's fair. Do we want to give like a quick synopsis, a quick review of One Battle? How do we want to do this conversation?
Oh my gosh, how quick can we be? That's the thing, right? It's the thing with One Battle. The thing with One Battle after another. So, right, it's a very loose adaptation of Vineland. And what I love about it so much is that it is just this sprawling American odyssey of sorts. Like, right, we start at the beginning. We're following the French 75, Perfidia Beverly Hills, iconic PTA character name, played beautifully by Tiana Taylor. We're introduced to her and to Pat at the time, that's his name, before it's Bob, and Leonardo DiCaprio. And we just I love how we get to see the French 75, really this great montage of all of their revolutionary activity. And then we get that time jump to 16 years later, right after Lockjaw.
All-timer needle drop from PTA.
All-timer needle drop.
We have not stopped listening to Dirty Work in my house. My 5 and 7-year-old, they know the song. They sing the song now. And on the soundtrack or whatever is loaded onto Spotify, it jumps right into Soldier Boy after that, which of course we all know is quite the needle drop in this film. My kids have no association with that. And my 5-year-old is like, play Soldier Boy. And she loves singing because it's such a like kind of a choral song. They have these very high tones. And every time she sings it, I think it's really funny. That's all I'll say about
That
that.
is so funny. But I love that just when we do have that time jump, it becomes an action comedy. It also becomes this father-daughter story. It's also, I think what I also love about it is it's a story about these women really at the center of it, of Willa, Bob's daughter, of Deandra, the Regina Hall character, and of course I think presence of Perfidia lingers over the rest of the film even after she exits. And it's just a really high degree of difficulty that I think is executed perfectly. That's why I love it so much.
And
Mhm.
the thing too with this movie is that it's obviously his most ambitious film that he's done in a very long time. And honestly, you could make an argument that it might be more ambitious than Magnolia, because Magnolia was obviously a lot smaller, even though it's a much longer film than this, and there's a lot more going on in that movie. The scale that this movie presents itself is just so interesting. And the fact that, a lot of people have talked about how scarily timely this movie is. It's impressive how he's able to make a film like this that's also super entertaining. Like the
Yeah.
fact that mainstream audiences, people who aren't like us, non-cinephiles, are going out to the theater and flocking to watch this and are walking out of it loving it, that's saying a lot. Because if this were in the hands of a different filmmaker, it would have been a very different approach. It would have gone down in a completely different way. And the impact that PTA brings to this movie would not have landed at all. So what you were bringing up before, Sophia, about how the impact of Tiana Taylor is felt throughout the entirety of the movie, even long after she's gone. I mean, she's in the first 20, 30-ish
Yeah.
minutes of the movie, and then there's still another 2+ hours to go. And she's felt throughout the entirety of that movie. She's not forgotten about. Her impact is there, which is great. And I love how all of these characters are written. And it's really interesting how this movie has become this huge cultural phenomenon right now. And the movie has only been out, time of recording, for 5 days. That's saying a lot. That's saying a lot about a movie like this. Like I said before, a movie like this comes every once in a generation. In a generation, when you really think about it, but once every year, there's that one movie that comes out that is so impactful and it's celebrated among us cinephiles, but then also the mainstream audience. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's incredible how it just smoothly transitions into being one thing, then it becomes another, one transition after another, and just the filmmaking here is insane. Everyone's talking about the chase sequence at the end, which is now going to go down as maybe one of the greatest chase sequences in any film ever.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really don't know what else to say. Honestly, I feel like if we keep talking about this, we'll be here for 2 hours and 45
For
minutes.
forever. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's one of the cool natures of this movie is that there's so much to unpack with this film. I think a couple like logistical things, and I'll quickly mention the big picture has a great 2-hour conversation on one battle after another. Sean interviews PTA, interviews Leo. I think there's a lot of great stuff that they tackle in that pod. If you're looking for something a little deeper, that's a great place to go to. This is already PTA's second highest grossing movie of all time. There Will Be Blood, currently his highest grossing at $76 million. One Battle After Another, 5 days after the release date, is sitting at a $60.6 million worldwide gross. His highest opening domestic weekend ever. This is a big deal. This is a big deal movie. This will inevitably go down as his highest grossing movie of all time. Of course, it is his biggest budgeted movie by a ridiculous margin. Cost reportedly $130 million to make this movie. Next in line would be Magnolia at $37 million, which is pretty crazy. So he's seeing that $100 million bump from everybody there at Warner Bros. Putting faith in art for one goddamn second in their life, which is really exciting and fun. Couple very fast things that I want to mention. Hopefully by the time that this pod goes out, I will have like a full YouTube review of this movie that I'm planning to tackle. So hopefully that'll be out in the world. I, of course, have many things to say, so it's kind of halting that process. We don't know how many Academy Awards this will be nominated for, so the 0 for 11 stat will be hopefully changed by the time March rolls around, March of 2026. Again, I mentioned full spoilers because there's one specific thing that I want to mention about Leo in this role, and we could talk about this movie for a very long time, but to end such a substantial nervy, high stakes car chase in the rolling hills of the desert, right? The ocean waves of the desert, by doing this car crash, which he does many times in this film, which is jarring every single time. Two things there. Chase Infinity's guttural scream when she murders the Christmas adventurer
It's
is important.
Incredible.
Very, very good. Very much, to me, very akin to Killers of the Flower Moon and Lily Gladstone letting out her guttural scream from the basement when De Niro's character is going through the blaze that sets her neighborhood on fire. And secondly, what I think is equally impactful, as a girl dad myself, and ultimately a movie about a dad who just wants to find his daughter and make sure she is safe in the big, wide, bad world, Leo spends the entire movie being not stupid, not dumb, but like pretty incompetent. He can't remember things. He gets easily frustrated, and he has many really, really great bits, really incredible acting from that perspective. He gets out of his car, and when he sees Willa and spies her for the first time, his voice inflection is monstrously different than it is for the entire film. He utters Willa in such a soft tone that I sob every single time that I've seen that movie.
Just thinking about it is very
too.
emotional.
The way that he says Willa is so impactful and is so meaningful, and the way that it breaks that huge action sequence that we just did, and then we get this moment of him in the car. It's okay. You're safe. And then we spend 25 more minutes with our Terminator character, right? And I think it's really interesting. Yeah, again, like I would recommend going to listen to The Big Picture. I think Leo talks about this movie in a really interesting way, relating it to Star Wars. You get your Darth Vader sequence, you have your Yoda in Sensei, you have Princess Leia, you have Luke. You do have these characters that are so form and fashion to tropes that have been done for 60 years now in cinema. They're just done in a PTA way. And it is really PTA core at the end of the day. So a movie that is just so fucking good is going to be played at number 5, but that's okay. Here we are.
And hopefully PTA gets his Oscars for this one.
Right.
I have a good feeling about it.
I have a good feeling.
The Oscars happen 3 days after my birthday, so this would be the literal best birthday gift. Even though it's past my birthday, this would be the best gift in the entire world for me, because literally it's his time. I think that this will finally be his time. How many will he win? I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't really predict that right now, but I think this is it. I think that this is his time. I think it's going to happen this time. Hopefully.
I would argue on the side that if WB campaigns this correctly, that they have all the moving pieces. They have Leo and PTA doing press for the first time in a very, very long time. They're doing very popular podcasts. They're going on things and doing interviews.
Marketing for this has been insane. All the viral marketing,
they also
social media stuff. It's wild.
They also have
bonkers.
Chase Infinity doing K-pop Demon Hunter dances on TikTok. Like that is, I know how completely stupid that sounds. That works. Like that works. Her doing a one battle after another get ready with me ASMR on TikTok gets people interested in seeing a movie. And I think that's really important. Can they keep that steam for the next 5 months? Yet to be seen, yet to be known. I really, really hope that they can. How they split this resource-wise with Sinners? No idea. No clue. We'll see what happens. 2 movies that have very important cinematic narratives going behind them. Okay. So that's been done. We have dedicated our one battle after another time, which was really fun. That was a blast, guys. Thanks for allowing me to finally speak on this film. Sophia, you have number 4. It sounds like we know where this is going to go, so we should just explore.
Okay. So I love this film. I love the rest of them that are available. Had a really, I think, incredible theater experience rewatching this. This is also one that I've seen dozens of times, and that I actually didn't love the first time I watched this. I think I really liked it, but didn't love it. And now I'm just full speed ahead, 5-star camp, and have been for the past few years now. And that is 1999's Magnolia.
Okay. Can I ask you a question real fast before
Yes.
before we move forward?
Of course.
If I veto Magnolia, two things could happen here. Of course, Bryan could veto Override, which would be a big play.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, are you playing Boogie Nights next? Is that like your next in line, or what would be your next in line? Just so I know what kind of power I'm walking into here.
Sure. So, I mean, the 4 movies we have left are Magnolia, Boogie Nights, There Will Be Blood, and Phantom Thread. I'm a Daniel Day-Lewis girl.
Two very distinct twofers of movies.
Yes.
Boogie Nights, Magnolia, There Will Be Blood, Phantom Thread. Very different eras of PTA. I'm a Daniel Day-Lewis
girl. So
okay,
I would have to go with Boogie Nights if you got rid of Magnolia here.
So it's really between my 2 babies, my 2 boys, and I got to abandon one of them. That's what you're forcing me to do here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Can we think about this for a second? Because I'm not really ready.
That's okay. Do you want me to just introduce the movie and then you can think on it?
Yeah, you better.
Okay. So this is really, I mean, this might be, aside from One Battle After Another, PTA's most sprawling movie. So the description from Letterboxd, we have: on one random day in the San Fernando Valley, a dying father, a young wife, a male caretaker, a famous lost son, a police officer in love, a boy genius, an ex-boy genius, a game show host, and an estranged daughter will each become part of a dazzling multiplicity of plots, but one story. Great description.
That's
tells
incredible.
You a lot about Magnolia,
incredible description
and how it feels. To watch it.
Does.
I think I mean, what I love about this movie is just how all of the pieces fit together. Really, so moving.
Yeah, I really love Magnolia. If I veto this, are you going to override, Bryan?
You'll find out when it happens, if it happens.
I mean, I'm really torn between 2 camps here because, like, I have a tattoo of Roller Girl. Like, Boogie Nights is really special to me. So is it worth it? You know, like, can I stomach Boogie Nights at 4 and then like Magnolia at 3? If I don't veto this, I don't know where you stand, Bryan, on like where you want Boogie Nights in the top 3. I would assume it's number 3, but you're not going to tell me, are you?
No, I'm not going to tell you.
Mystery.
Okay, yeah. Bob Ferguson, the Enigma over here. Well, I would actually be mad at myself if I didn't try my hardest to get my number 1 PTA movie as far up the board as I could. So,
oh my God,
I'm gonna veto. I'm gonna veto Magnolia. It is my favorite PTA movie, and that stems from my most recent rewatch, in which it was sitting at number 3, I think, and I rewatched it and I sobbed for about the 3 hours that it took to complete the film. And I know we'll talk about it because if I'm going to veto it, we're going to kind of like save the conversation.
We'll take it later. Okay.
William H. Macy saying, "I have a lot of love to give. I just don't know where to put it." I can't turn my nose at that. You know, it just works on me.
Amazing cruise too. Right. We'll talk about. We'll have that conversation.
Yeah. Okay. So then, you're that's psychotic, Sophia. This doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
My top, I can't, like, I have to go with my personal number 4 now, I guess.
Oh.
So that's Boogie Nights from 1997. I will read the description again because this is another good description here that we have for Boogie Nights. Set in 1977, back when sex was safe, pleasure was a business, and business was booming. Idealistic porn producer Jack Horner aspires to elevate his craft to an art form. Horner discovers Eddie Adams, a hot young talent working as a busboy in a nightclub, and welcomes him into the extended family of movie makers, misfits, and hangers-on that are always around. Adams' rise from nobody to a celebrity adult entertainer is meteoric, and soon the whole world seems to know his porn alter ego, Dirk Diggler. So
that has got to be one of the longest letterbox.
I know. I'm like, usually they're like 2 sentences.
It's huge.
But I'm gonna stop there with Dirk Diggler because that's the most important place to stop here. This is, I think you can cynically view this as PTA's take on Scorsese and Goodfellas, but I think to make this when you are in your late 20s is absolutely insane. I think this is an absolutely perfect ensemble piece. And I saw this in theaters for the last time in 2021 because I heard a little rumor, and it was true, that they were going to play the Licorice Pizza trailer ahead of prints of Boogie Nights.
Ah.
And that was the only way you could see the trailer at first, was to see it in theaters. PTA always does those weird little things with his releases, which I love. So I went to see it again, and I find this movie just like so energetic and beautiful. And then it just, when we get that flip and things start going south, you feel that so dramatically. And I love Roller Girl as well, but Julianne Moore as Amber Waves is one of my favorite characters in
Will You Be My
PTA's
Mommy?
entire filmography. And this is, I think, where he really solidifies the found family theme that we can see across his entire filmography.
Yeah. I showed my wife, or I re-showed my wife, because we were on YouTube, and I would show her the hype video that I made for the pod for this month, which opens up with Dirk Diggler in the studio recording You've Got the Touch. So I showed her that scene, and then, of course, next to that, YouTube suggested to watch the William H. Macy at the turn of the decade scene. And we watched it, and I was like, man, PTA has fucking got the
so
juice.
brutal.
That whole scene is a oneer, which is just completely insane to me. Bryan, tell me your Boogie Nights stance. Take a couple minutes here.
Boogie Nights is so incredible. It's so unbelievable. And, you know, being the same age as PTA when he made this movie just literally makes me sick to my stomach, because I feel like I haven't done anything with my life. And at this point, he had already made 2 movies. And, you know, a lot of people always wonder what's going to happen with a director's second film. And this is a case where he absolutely did not hit the sophomore slump. If anything, he like took it from like an 8 to like 20 with this film. Everything with this film, the directing and the writing are just spectacular. Some of his best filmmaking is on display in this film. The decade at the turn scene, that's an all-timer. I went to go see this on 70mm 2 years ago at Lincoln Center.
Yeah.
They brought out a new 70mm print. I took
They
my
did a
best
whole
friend with
run
me.
of new prints last year, which is really exciting.
I took my best friend who had never seen this movie before, so I was already
Oh my
jealous
gosh,
that
wait,
his
I
first
saw
time.
it again then too. Sorry to interrupt you. I just realized that. I also went again.
I wonder if we were at the same screen, and
Probably.
I don't know. It would be hilarious if we were. Just like it'd be like LP all over again. No, and genuinely, I had never been more jealous of anyone in my life that their first time watching Boogie Nights was in the theater on a 70mm print. I'm like,
jeez,
fuck off. Like, this is not fair that you get to experience this. I don't care if something happened to you. It should have happened to me, that whole meme and everything. No, honestly, like, everything that you guys were saying about this, I don't even know what else I could really add to the Boogie Nights talk and everything. It's simply one of the best films ever. Julianne Moore's performance, honestly, might be my favorite performance in a PTA, tied with another performance in a PTA. It's my recent watch of Boogie Nights, my appreciation for that specific performance like increased greatly. And I don't know what it is about this movie, but it's hilarious, it's endearing, it's sad, it's terrifying. There's so much going on, and it never feels overwhelming into a bad sense and everything. Like, it's not jarring. It flows very perfectly and everything. And this movie is just pure magic, but it's also just so fucking insane. It's insane in every sense of the word. And you know what? Mark Wahlberg, I've been on record. I don't really like Mark Wahlberg as an actor. I thought he was perfect as Dirk Diggler. I think it's a perfect role for him. And I know that, you know, we just talked about Leonardo DiCaprio, of how he finally got to work with PTA after many years with One Battle and everything, and how he talks about regretting not doing Boogie Nights, which I totally understand. It's like, you know, not being able to be in Boogie Nights, which is arguably one of the best films ever. Like, that's a tough beat and everything. But you did Titanic, and Titanic is great, and you fit Titanic.
Titanic won Best Picture that same year.
Titanic won Best Picture. Like,
you know,
Leo could play Dirk Diggler, but Mark Wahlberg can't play Jack Dawson. That's a good way of looking at it. Yeah. So, no, this film is incredible, and Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know what else there is to say about it, truly. And every time I listen to Sister Christian, I get petrified, all because
Sure.
of this movie.
Yeah, it's great. There's a great Jesse's Girl needle drop in this movie as well, around a similar time stamp. Nominated for 3 Academy Awards, Burt Reynolds for supporting actor, Julianne Moore supporting actress, and screenplay for PTA. Obviously goes home with 0 wins. This is Titanic year. That ends up kind of taking a hold on some of these things.
Not any of these awards.
think-
Titanic wasn't nominated,
know.
I think, for any of these awards.
I know, but still, I actually think it's really interesting that Burt Reynolds gets nominated same time Robert Forster does for Jackie Brown, which is like kind of a similar, I think you could say, like idea of what
Was
we're
that
doing
the,
with
was
supporting
that the
roles.
Robin Williams year? Was that when Robin won for Go
It was, yeah, Robin
Oh.
Williams for Good Will Hunting. I think obviously you mentioned the Leo mark of everything, one of the big sliding doors of Hollywood. I think PTA, looking at how the world changes people in very specific ways. He does this with one battle after another. We talked about like the 16 years had passed and the world had changed very little. This hard cut moment that we see again in a movie that we're about ready to talk about here in one of these 3 remaining picks. But he does so under the guise of like, Hollywood is changing and things are moving away from videotape and things are moving into a new decade, and people are looking at the world differently, and people are specifically looking at the porn industry differently. As someone who is on record of being like pretty obsessed with porn when he was young, this is like obviously where he wanted to go first at bat of someone like really inundated by that world. I think this is, to me, the funniest movie that PTA has ever made. And I think there's so many things in this film that are equal parts funny and really ridiculously sad all at the same time. I could go on for Boogie Nights, about Boogie Nights for a very, very long time. This is a special movie to me, and I really enjoy it. And I really think that Philip Seymour Hoffman saying he's a fucking idiot, just one of the all-time saddest guy moments in cinema history. I was thinking while you guys were talking here, obviously Mark Wahlberg, Burt Reynolds, Julianne Moore, John C. Reilly, Heather Graham, Don Cheadle, Philip Seymour Hoffman, William H. Macy, Luis Guzman, Philip Baker Hall, Alfred Molina, Robert Downey Sr., like all of these people. I couldn't help but think about the shot that One Battle After Another has next year at the Academy Awards for Best Casting.
Mm-hmm.
And if this movie were to exist in a world in which Best Casting was available, that's a PTA special written all over it, in my opinion. All right. So this is in the wrong spot, but that's okay. We move forward. Boogie Nights at 4. It's crazy. It's my number 2. It's my personal number 2.
Okay.
Bryan, welcome to the top 3. We shall decide the top 3 PTA movies right now. What's your number 3? What are you going to put?
Okay, so like,
Can
Sophia,
I say real quick? We have 2
interrupted me. God.
No, we have 3 really interesting things. We have 3 distinct PTA eras still on the board. Magnolia 99, There Will Be Blood 07, Phantom Thread 2017. Those are 3 very different PTA movies, in my opinion.
Correct.
That's all. You may proceed.
Anyway, like Sophia, I am also a Daniel Day-Lewis girl. So, with that being said, number 3 is going to go to Magnolia.
Okay, this is wrong, but that's
absolutely not. Absolutely
so
not.
Wrong. So wrong.
Absolutely not. I won't say too much about this because I know that this is your number 1 PTA, so I'll let you get the free reign of doing a lot of the talk and everything, but I'll just say this. I'll try to keep this as short as possible. First off, how did Tom Cruise not win the Oscar for this? It's an absolute crime that he didn't win for this, which you could make an argument that this is possibly the best acting he's ever done, and I don't think he's been better since.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Even I have 3 friends that I watched this with not too long ago. All of them hate Tom Cruise. Why? I don't know. And they were all like, wow, for once, I actually really love the Tom Cruise performance. So that's saying a lot. Number 2, the movie is all over the place, but I think it works very well. And usually films like this are very hit or miss for me. but I think that this film flows so beautifully, and it being 3 hours long, honestly, I could have watched 3 more hours of this. That's how engaging that this film is. Similar to Sophia, this is a film where I didn't dislike it the first time I watched it. I was a bit more lukewarm on it. But then as I went and watched it again and again, my appreciation, just like for all these movies, just grew and grew for me.
Yeah.
And, it just reminded us very early on, and this was obviously his third film, that PTA just makes films unlike anyone else. Like he proved early on that he has his own style of presenting his movies, and he wanted to obviously pay tribute and respect to these filmmakers who inspired him, but he didn't want to copy off them. He wanted to do his own thing. And I think that that's really, really special about him. So there's a lot to say about this movie. There's a lot that it tackles. There's a lot it commentates on. There's obviously stuff that goes on with frogs that even still, I still don't know if I get that. But I
love the frogs.
I love it as well. But
Yeah.
I think the fact that I don't entirely get it makes me love it so much more. And this ensemble is just the most stacked, incredible ensemble that you could possibly have for any film out there. I mean, like, just listing off the people. I mean, Jeremy Blackman, Tom Cruise, Melinda Dillon, Philip Baker Hall, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Ricky Jay, William H. Macy, Alfred Molina, Julianne Moore, John C. Reilly, Melora Walters, and Jason Robards in his final on-screen role. Stacked, just incredible on all fronts. And just a textbook definition of how to make an epic as compelling as it should be. And just I don't know what it is about this film, but it's just like magic to me. It's like music to my ears. The dialogue, the pace of it, the performances, just everything about it is great. So go ahead, Ethan, go on your little spiel about why this movie is your number one and everything.
Well, I won't spiel that long, but the reason that it is my number one is because it's not just one PTA story about one sad white guy. It's 9 sad people stories all put together, which I think is like really special. You talk about nobody making a movie like PTA does. Magnolia is obviously a very clear indicator of that. We just talked about Boogie Nights and PTA's obsession with these turns of the decade and what does the future hold. Magnolia literally comes out at the turn of the decade. It comes out in 99. And
turn of the century,
turn of the century, exactly. And it comes out in 99, and it is truly staring down the barrel of this is what we were, and we don't know what we will be. And I think that, like, in a huge context about the world, is really important. I really, really fall in love with so much of this movie with William H. Macy's character of Quiz Kid Donnie Smith, and how he's like ridden his whole life, and it finally comes to roost about how shitty parents are to their kids. Again, we're tying this back to One Battle After Another. It's about the justifying relationship between parents and kids and how those evolve over long periods of time. You have the current Quiz Kid who ends the movie by saying, "You need to be nicer to me," and is told to shut up and go to bed. That's really something to me. Like, that's really, really powerful stuff. The frogs, I'm glad you mentioned Bryan. I think is a really not telling. I think you can fall in either direction, but like, if you rub against like the frogs, I think you rub against a lot of what PTA kind of does in the final 10, 15 minutes of a lot of his movies, which is like exactly what Magnolia is getting at. These things happen. And I think like even The Master kind of falls under this idea of, Philip Seymour Hoffman singing Slow Boat to China. Like, this is a big, grandiose performance piece to end an epic. And I think that is really what PTA does the best. Yeah, okay. So this is number 3.
Quickly, can't you just picture Lockjaw sitting in that conference room for Seduce and Destroy?
Oh my God, we got to get the Seduce and Destroy universe back in function here.
Because some Christmas adventurers will be there too.
Oh
Big
my
Christmas
God.
adventure shit. I'm glad you mentioned that because in this movie is April Grace, the woman who interviews Tom Cruise, found again in One Battle After Another as the Sisterhood of the Beaver, and kind of, comes face to face with Chase Infinity's character and confronts those ideas, which are ideas that she confronts in Magnolia about how Tom Cruise's mom actually died and how he's masking who he really is with this idea at the forefront. But yeah, that's got Lockjaw written all over it, which I think is great. Nominated for 3 Academy Awards. I know we've been mentioning this. Tom Cruise supporting role. We get best screenplay and then best original song. I think the soundtrack to this is pretty lights out in my opinion. I really enjoy listening to it. And
should have won original song for sure.
Yeah, it seems that PTA is the king of let's get nominated 3 times and win none, which is pretty cool. You'll Be in My Heart from Tarzan wins this year, which is I would argue is like a fair
tough
win,
beat.
But it's a tough beat for Magnolia.
Tough beat.
Oh
yeah.
God.
So You'll Be in My Heart wins. We have Music of My Heart, of course, by Diane Warren, who's been nominated for Academy Awards for 30 years now and get to win. Save Me from Magnolia, which was nominated. When She Loved Me from Toy Story 2, very sad song, probably not nomination worthy in my opinion. And then the final nomination here, Blame Canada from South Park, Bigger, Longer, Uncut.
Wow.
Shout out
Inspired.
Ben Lawhorn on that one. So,
Inspired.
What a category.
I do
Okay.
want to actually ask Sophia a quick question and everything. You had brought up that it was only until recently where you gave this a 5-star. What made you go down that route to finally going, yep, this is a masterpiece?
It was watching it in a theater. I hadn't watched it in a theater. I watched it in the theater for the first time. I guess this wasn't a few years ago at this point. It was like pre-COVID when I saw it in the theater. But I think that watch really unlocked a lot of it for me, where it didn't feel chaotic and messy in the same way anymore. I think I just embraced that and started to really feel everything with all of the characters, and just really, I felt like I connected with it deeply. And I think it does have, I think I appreciate some of those quirks, and I like that he was really swinging and going for it with this one. The performances, some of them, I mean, Julianne Moore, is she in this? What movie is she in? But I love that performance.
Yeah.
I think it's crazy.
That's a great shout. That's really funny. Don't you call me lady.
Don't you call me lady.
That's great.
It's really,
yeah.
you could watch a movie in the theater and it could just make it so much better. Like it's I've had many films like that for myself, so
Yeah.
I totally get you in that regard.
Really interesting state of affairs. This was put out by New Line Cinema on December 17th of 1999. A budget of $37 million, makes almost 50 at the box office. So considered a minor success, I would say, and nominated for a few Academy Awards. So that's a pretty big deal for someone's third movie that is 3 hours long. I think that's important. All right, so we are now at the top 2. I've got number 2. Sophia, you have number 1. I essentially am choosing both of these films.
But I have a veto.
Oh, okay. You
And I
do.
did that on purpose.
You do. God
maybe.
damn it. You knew what I was going to play. You knew in my heart I wanted to be mean.
I knew I
I
knew
know
that this
you-
was going to be the outcome. I just had a
Okay.
feeling.
So I know that, but also I will say that I might not even use it. We'll
Okay,
see.
interesting. So I thought I would kind of
love
end with the upper
this
hand
movie
here
so much.
to say like, haha, look at me. I'm gonna put a certain movie at number 2, but doesn't seem that to be the case. That's
No.
okay. Okay. That's wow. How collaborative of you.
Yeah.
Now it's really back in my court. What do I want to do?
We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. Okay, you do have the
Depends how you
veto.
talk
and-
about
and
it.
Bryan has a veto override. So we could end this by saying Phantom Thread number 2, There Will Be Blood number 1. If we go that route, I think that's the expected route, to be honest. I think people will say, yeah, There Will Be Blood. That makes sense. Of course, number 1. We also have the opportunity to do something very, very cool, where we could say, Phantom Thread, guys, get on board. Like, this is actually the best one. And There Will Be Blood at number 2. Bryan doesn't seem very sold on that idea. And he's got an override, so that makes me a little bit nervous. I think that's much cooler to go that route. What do you guys think? You don't think so? You want to go traditional. You want to go There Will Be Blood, number 1, of course.
If we put There Will Be Blood at number 1, then we ended with Bryan's number one. So this is
so it's all about Bryan.
it is
You got to do what
indeed all
Bryan
about
wants
Bryan.
to do.
Okay.
But if we end with Phantom Thread at number one, Sophia, is that your number one
Then
PTA
I
movie?
truly got the number one pick. I mean,
Right.
listen though, I'll say that is Phantom Thread. I am a Thread head. I do think it is his best movie. It's my favorite movie of his.
Uh-huh.
But I also understand that like I am a leader of, or one of the leaders of the Threadhead cult. And I rewatched There Will Be Blood today, and it is a lights out, stone cold masterpiece.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty out and out, unbeatable, unimpeachable number one movie.
I'm okay with either.
You're okay with either.
Really?
Okay, well, just for the prospect of these oil, whatever you call them, these kind of oil, up and downs. What are they called? What's the official
The
name?
rigs?
Yeah, the oil rigs.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I find it really hilarious that PTA makes oil rigs blow up akin to a man ejaculating, I think we should put that at number one. And so I think at number two, we should be putting Phantom Thread at number two. In turn, making There Will Be Blood number one. But we're not there yet. We're just at number two. So, Bryan, unfortunately, no veto. If you had a veto, would you veto this, Bryan?
What? Phantom
Thread at number two?
No.
No. Okay. Because you have There Will Be Blood at your number one.
Correct.
Okay. So, I don't really know what else to say about this other than, what everybody else on the planet has already said. I think you summed it up pretty well, Sophia. A truly American epic that starts in the late 1890s and proceeds to the, I believe.
Wait, I thought you were talking about Phantom Thread.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I am. I just got really excited. I just got really excited talking about There Will Be Blood. Phantom Thread does not start in the 1890s. Takes place in 1950s London. Daniel Day-Lewis plays, again, just a truly great PTA name, Reynolds Woodcock. I believe the story here is that they were texting back and forth for many months, and Daniel Day-Lewis just sent him this idea of Reynolds Woodcock, and DDL was like, that can't go in, right? And PTA is like, no, that's it. That's going in. And so that's
the one.
They toyed with it, and that was the one. Of course, Vicky Krieps, pretty lights out in this movie. Really her first I think her first big role. Leslie Manville doing the PTA thing, doing the Peggy Dodd of I'm actually the one in charge and I actually pull the strings and you really don't want to mess with me. And ultimately is about Reynolds Woodcock falling in love with a young muse, falling in love with Alma, making dresses for her and having her feed him soup and foods and delicacies, and wishing that they could spend, again, relating to the master, billions of years together and devoted to each other. Really one of the great rom-coms of our era.
So fucking funny.
So fucking hilarious. Really, really is.
It's amazing.
But it's like PTA funny, right? Like I think I think Boogie Nights, one battle after another, very accessible funny. Very like,
correct.
That's funny. Phantom Thread is much more like you see it for the third time and you're like, very funny. I see. That's a different kind of funny to me. But yeah, number two, I think is totally a fair spot for this.
Just genius.
Okay. Yeah, here we go. Let's get the Sophia.
Okay. I've landed on keeping Phantom Thread at number two. I know that's controversial.
Okay. Yeah, that's
I know that's
controversial
controversial
for
for me. I love Phantom Thread, but I'm not going to just go with my favorite here. I think that There Will Be Blood has a stronger cultural weight behind it, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But Phantom Thread for me, like it's one of those movies that really just, it opened everything up for me. I love it so much. I've seen it. I can't even tell you how many times in theaters now. I think we're probably over 20. Just from when it came out and how many times a year I've seen it since. Yeah. But yeah, I think the comedy is pretty incredible. Even just some of Daniel Day-Lewis's line deliveries, like when they're playing backgammon, he's like, if you were victorious, I think you'd see it in a different light. I use that sometimes. I think you could use that for some movie draft.
Yeah, that's a good plug. Very smart.
I love the relationship between PTA and Maya Rudolph and how that influenced this movie, of how when he was sick, he said that he had never seen her look at him so lovingly. And that was what inspired a lot of Phantom Thread. I love the discovery of Vicky Krieps. I think this is also a great food movie too. The
Truly.
breakfast order
Breakfast
is perfect.
Order. So
Iconic.
good.
And I think it's one of his, like The Master, I think most technically beautiful movies. The Johnny Greenwood score, those costumes, which are, those dresses are very outdated that he makes and he designs, but I think that's all part of the point. And I love it endlessly. I mean, like she says, like Alma says about Reynolds, is how I feel about this movie. To be in love with it makes life no great mystery.
There's a great little PTA Easter egg in this movie that I think he posits into the character of Reynolds Woodcock, which is like he always embroiders something that only he knows on the inside of his dresses, right? And I feel like that's very PTA of he is encoding his own personal stories into many of his movies, and generally he's the only one that can see those stories. Bryan?
Again, what am I supposed to say that hasn't been said already about this film? It's just perfect in every sense of the word. And like Sophia was saying, there's just these line deliveries from Daniel Day-Lewis that may not necessarily be like the lines themselves may not be funny, but just the way he delivers them. Just like I constantly use on a regular basis, what precisely is the nature of my game? I say that all the time to people just for the hell of it. And it's great. And yeah, this should have won at least maybe like 4 Oscars. I don't even think it was. How many was it nominated for? Like 6 or something? Ethan?
6.
Yeah, so nominated for 6. Obviously, DDL nominated for actor. Leslie Manville nominated for Best Supporting Actress. Johnny Greenwood nominated for a score. I would assume we'll get another nomination this year with One Battle After Another. A score similarly to Phantom Thread that is just totally rapturous that I can't, once you start listening, you can't really stop. It does win the Oscar for Best Achievement in Costume Design. Technically goes to, right, the costume designer, does not go to PTA. Nominated for director and nominated for Best Picture. So 6 nominations. It did win, but PTA still over on the Oscars front.
Oh God, the
Really
score,
tough.
the score really should have won this year. It's a real shame. Like,
Yeah.
and this is
I'm
no
gonna
shade.
see what it was up against.
This is no shade to Alexander Desplat. I believe he won for Shape of Water that year. Like, this is no shade to that score. I love that score and everything, but sorry, nothing tops this.
What a strange collection of scores. The Shape of Water wins, which obviously goes on to win Best Picture, so it was kind of had that momentum there. Dunkirk nominated, Hans Zimmer, Phantom Thread nominated. 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri, and Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
They gotta get in that John Williams
truly
nomination.
eclectic group of 5. That's a real Dial of Destiny nomination there, if there ever was one.
2017 is one of those years where the winners for me are pretty rough, but the movies are really great that year. Like I love 2017 films, but would have picked some different winners, I think, across the board in places.
I don't know if I would have kept, and I have to do research when I think about this. I don't know if I would have kept any of the top 6 winners. I don't think so. Or top 8. The only of the top 8, so the acting, the directing, picture, and screenplay. I like both screenplay winners, Get Out and Call Me by Your Name, but the acting wins, and then
kind of a
Guillermo
tough beat.
and picture, not my favorites.
It's not ideal. Gary Oldman wins for Darkest Hour, a movie everybody talks about all the time.
That's like the cinematic masterpiece of our time.
Yeah, I think it's a very beautiful, just a beautiful film, truly at its core.
And it has my favorite shot
levels.
in a PTA film, the shot of them dancing at the ball. That's my favorite shot in any PTA movie.
I think
It's
arguably
beautiful.
a lot of people's favorite shot in pretty much any PTA movie, and that entire sequence, what that encompasses, his fear and his complete, I feel like out of nature, out of body panic, only to be acquiesced once again, is really interesting.
Yeah. And it's just so different for him. Like doing a gothic romance that's also this thorny, tricky comedy, I think for a lot of PTA fans it's such a great pivot. So different from anything he's done.
Really, really good. Okay, so Phantom Thread gets played here, 2017. That is off the board, meaning we have one final film. Sophia, would you like to nominate the official number 1 movie of this draft?
Yeah. So I'm shocked I didn't just stick it to you guys and pick Phantom Thread, but I watched There Will Be Blood today from 2007, and I not that I had forgotten how great it was, because I hadn't. This has always been right. I mean, it's 1 and 2 for me, Phantom Thread and There Will Be Blood. One Battle actually puts a little interesting wrinkle in my rankings, but those two have always really stood apart from the rest for me. So this movie is loosely based on Upton Sinclair's Oil. So it's really similar to, I think, One Battle in that way. And then it's really just very loosely inspired by a work of literature. But to me, this feels like a great American novel. I think that's what makes this film so great. So this is about a man named Daniel Plainview, played by Daniel Day-Lewis, so many Daniels. And he starts out as a silver miner. We get that great opening sequence where it feels like a silent film.
Yeah, the no speaking is so encapsulating. It's really good.
Brilliant.
I recently saw it in theaters, so I had watched it for the first time at home, and then it got announced that there was a 70mm screening coming, and I went to it, and that first 20 minutes, it is a silent film. It is a silent film through the era of Discovery. Yeah,
exactly. There's that part. It feels like 2001: A Space Odyssey or something. It feels Kubrickian, I think, at that beginning, and just it's so, I think, cool to see this man just when he discovers oil, and then how that changes him for the worst, really. Like then we get to see how that evolves, and I think importantly, right, how he interacts with Eli Sunday and HW, who I have to say, you guys, I was prepared. If someone put this really low, Ethan, I probably should have done it to you before Bryan vetoed you and called you a bastard from a basket, because I think that's such a great insult.
I wish I would have given you that opportunity. Yeah, that's crazy. Bastard from a basket.
But what I think makes this film just so incredible, aside from what I think is the best performance in my favorite actor his entire career, and my favorite performance in any Paul Thomas Anderson movie, leader supporting, I think it's really just that there's something that is so rare and violent and funny when you're watching this film too. I do think it's not a comedy, but it is funny. I get that PTA humor, and it just, the more you experience it, the more time you have away from it, the more you watch it over and over again, it's like he's giving you a little tiny window into his world. And not only do you feel like you've understood the film a little bit more, but you understand this idea of America for all of its warts and ugliness, and that promise of greatness that a lot of people who came here, I think, really believed in. And it's a great piece of art. So I think I'm happy with it at number 1.
That's such a great shout for like understanding the concept of how America grew, because I'm looking through some of these quotes. Eli Sunday saying, "I'm a false prophet. God is a superstition," and beginning with the idea of mumbling that under his breath. And of course, kind of this vengeance, this retribution that Plainview does to Eli at the very end, as Eli does to Plainview in the beginning in the church, and those kind of like dueling mentalities. But also that idea of I am a false prophet, God is a superstition, for an America that was so deeply obsessed with religion and God shaping the way that it moved, directly up against a consumerism that was unstoppable, is crazy stuff to be able to put into a movie like this. Again, I mentioned the very funny phallic nature of some of the things that occur in this movie that I think are very inherently PTA, that I get a good kick out of. And
when the oil hits the camera too, I love that.
It's so good. It's every time I'm just like, God damn. I react the same way to that, the way that I react to One Battle After Another when Willa closes the door and the camera's on the door and it swings with her. And I'm just like, wow, PTA, you see it unlike anybody else. And I think too, like, what are you looking so miserable about? There's a whole ocean of oil under our feet. No one can get at it except me. And continuing this idea of, why don't I own that? Why don't I own that? And of course, tying it back to One Battle After Another, many actors that are in One Battle After Another as well, specifically that scene. And there's a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of good stuff in There Will Be Blood. Definitely certified, one of the best ever, I would say.
I want no one else to succeed. I hate most people. Oh, I love like all of
I have
his,
a competition in me. I
Yeah.
am better. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I'm
I
trying
love
to
all
look
those
back.
lines.
I'm trying to look back and see. So this placed at number 5 on our top 25 of the 21st century collaborative draft, part 2. So if you haven't listened to that episode, go listen to that episode. Placed at number 5, played by me, interestingly enough. So, there you go. Okay, we've done it. We have not abandoned our boy. We have held fast on our
We're
adoration.
drinking our milkshakes.
We are drinking our own milkshakes here. On
You
our
know, I
adoration
was
for PTA.
I was so transfixed by everything that you two were talking about. I totally forgot to even say my piece about this movie, but it's,
please, Bryan, continue.
it's, you know, again, like, this to me is maybe the greatest film of the whole century so far, and it is a case to where it is my favorite film of his, but I also do think it's his best. And everything that you guys were saying of how it commentates on America during this time, and you know, we see this rise and fall story of this man who was so hungry for power and would go in any direction to get that power, even if it's in the most dangerous possible route. And Daniel Day-Lewis's performance is possibly the greatest performance from an actor that I've ever seen. And again, like, this movie is poetic and sprawling and timely. And, you know, there's a reason why people still talk about it to this day as not only one of the best films, if not the best film of PTA's filmography, but one of the best films of all time. And it just packs a punch, and yeah, I don't even know what to say. I mean, the last scene is as blunt as a bowling pin to the head, and you know, the oil fire scene is one of the scariest scenes of all time. And
I think what you said about Phantom Thread with one of the most beautiful shots, I think that particularly having plain view lit so minimally, covered in oil, I would argue is right up there as well.
Horrifying.
The whites of his eyes glowing in the fire.
Genius stuff. And you know, not to get into a whole Oscar spiel again, but this is one of the greatest Oscar years of all time because you have two essentially master works of master filmmakers head to head, and it's like, did the Academy go with the right film? But then it's like, they didn't go with the wrong film either, so it's tough to say. But also, I do want to shout out one of my favorite Letterboxd reviews of this movie, and it's from Sophia, going to pretend that this was the bowling alley that Laszlo Toth was working on.
That's a great review. That's very funny.
I was like, oh my God, which one are you going to read? Because I've logged it so many times.
Very cinephile funny. Yeah, you know, I think nominated for 8 Academy Awards, wins. Daniel Day-Lewis wins for Best Actor. It wins for Cinematography, and then just nominated for a handful of other things. You alluded to this, Bryan. It is the No Country for Old Men year. I would argue the Academy actually made the quote-unquote right decision by crowning No Country for Old Men as the winner, because I think If There Will Be Blood was a Best Picture winner. I'm not so sure it ages the way that we have, you know, kind of discussed it aging. And I think that actually like apprehends its kind of vision a little bit of what it is, what it becomes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I think I wish there would have just been a split because I love No Country for Old Men too. It's such an incredible movie, but I wish we could have split it. So even if that one picture, like PTA could have won director or this could have won adapted screenplay, it's one of those unfortunate cases where like, the top 2 films were in the same place.
That is interesting. That is so interesting because, I mean, No Country for Old Men wins picture, directing. Javier Bardem wins for Best Actor in a Supporting. It wins Best Adapted Screenplay. But then you also have, you know, There Will Be Blood nominated in all these. And I would have thought it would be very cool if they split Best Picture and Michael Clayton takes home Best Picture and we just say, hey, these two movies really good. Put Michael Clayton up on a pedestal.
Another masterpiece.
Another masterpiece. We need 2 Michael, 2 Clayton. We need that to happen.
When's the George Clooney draft? And that will probably be number 1. Wouldn't surprise me.
It's a good question. When is the George Clooney draft? Probably the next time he makes a good movie. but I don't know. That was rude of me. I don't know if
Jay
Kelly's any
Jay
good
Kelly's
or not,
a good movie. Shut up.
We'll get to it when we get to it. The 2026 schedule is coming. It's coming. Nonetheless, we have completed the PTA collaborative draft here on the Movie Draft Podcast. All 10 movies ranked in what some would consider the correct order. Number 10, Hard 8. Number 9, Inherent Vice. Number 8, Punch Drunk Love. Number 7, Licorice Pizza. Number 6, The Master. Number 5, One Battle After Another. Number 4, Boogie Nights. Number 3, Magnolia. Number 2, Phantom Thread. And number 1, There Will Be Blood. Looking at this list, I feel pretty good about it. I feel pretty good. I do think Magnolia being at number 3 would be considered an outlier by many, but I am proud that I was able to knock that up so high up the board. And I wonder what the reception will be at One Battle at 5. That seems a little low for where people have been kind of posturing it in their own personal rankings. But
yeah,
it's okay.
I mean, that's the one that jumps out to me. Like if I could flip them, I would flip Magnolia in One Battle.
God,
but
just look,
I know.
Okay, Daniel Plainview, my ass over here. You're just like, I'm finished when I say we're finished. I get it. You don't hold Magnolia in the same esteem as other movies. I
have a competition in me.
You can't be stopped. Yeah.
No,
why don't I own that?
I think overall though it is a pretty solid list, especially considering the three of us. I think where our personal rankings lie, like it's a pretty good. I mean, I think we have some variety here and there, but I feel very happy with my top 2 being the top 2. I gotta say,
that must be nice. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. Bryan, you happy with this list?
My number 1 got to be my number 1. Or my number 1 got to be the number 1.
And your 10, 9, and 8 is all in order as well.
Yeah, it's pretty much in sync with my actual list. I mean, obviously the only major difference is that Licorice Pizza is in my top 5. Okay. But I anticipate that it was going to be here. Again, the only thing that I wanted walking into this draft was that it wasn't going to be at number 10, and I knew that both of you were not going to do that. But I'm just glad you guys kept your word. I'm glad you kept your word about that.
Of course,
it's not number 10. Never would be.
Because I probably would have unfriended both of you if you allowed it to be at number 10.
I would have never allowed that to happen. Bryan, our friendship was one of my most coveted things in my life.
Well, I appreciate
Massive
it.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I actually do think we had a healthy amount of competition. Vetoes were played, which is exciting. I didn't think that would necessarily be the case. But we have completed it. Thank you, Bryan, Sophia, for joining me on this exercise of great men and their I don't know, pitfalls as they go through American times, really, in the PTA worlds that he's created. Bryan, if people want to find more of you, where can they find you at?
You can find me still figuring out what time is it at Bryan Sudfield on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd.
It's 8:15, Bryan. It's 8:15. Come on.
You can find my write-in and podcast coverage at the Rolling Tape, and you can subscribe to my podcast, Life Moves Very Fast, on any podcast platform. Sophia was on the pod talking about Licorice Pizza, PTA film, and Ethan's been on before as well. So, yeah, please subscribe. And I really had an absolute blast potting with you guys tonight. You guys are two of my favorite people in the whole world, and we got to talk about my favorite filmmakers. So I'm really glad that we got to do this.
Yeah, I'm glad that you could step in a time of need, Bryan. It really makes my heart full.
Shout out Sophie.
Shout out Sophie. Just like Quiz Kid Donnie, I've got a lot of love. I do know where to place it, however, though. So it's right here in this podcast. Sophia, if people want to find more of you, where can they find you at?
You can find me at the Rendezvous Point. My Twitter is at Sophia_Sim, Letterboxd, Blue Sky at Sophia Sim. You can find my writing, interviews, reviews, more podcasts, including I did a written review of One Battle After Another that we just published a few weeks ago. You can find that at Awards Watch. And then you can find my podcast, Oscar Wilde, where we've also done a number of PTA episodes wherever you listen to podcasts.
Yeah, and you can find me sipping on a few small beers here on the pod and other places. Don't forget, we are now on Letterboxd, Movie Draft Pod. You can find us on there. I will plug a very quick, elusive hint at a future episode with Sophia and possibly other members of outlets that she just mentioned that we will have, and probably talk about one battle after another at some point in time in the future. Yet to be determined. We got to figure out the logistics of that episode, but it's going to be a very fun episode.
I'm scared.
We have 29 days to figure out the logistics before we record. I am also scared because I have never had such little preparation for a pod in my life, but we'll figure it out as we go. Thank you for listening to the Movie Draft Podcast. Don't forget, we are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Listen and subscribe. We're also now on YouTube with video. We also have YouTube on video on Spotify as well, if that's your thing. New episodes will be released weekly on Tuesdays. We'll see you then.
Hi, Movie Draft Pod. This is Sophie. I'm here to provide the correct and definitive ranking of Paul Thomas Anderson's movies. Not really, but Ethan has so kindly allowed me to speak my truth today on the podcast because I couldn't make the recording. Paul Thomas Anderson is my favorite director. He has 10 movies now, and I don't think he has a single bad one. So this ranking can change all the time, but this is where I am at today. So at number 10, I have Hard 8, which is Paul's debut feature. And I think it feels like a debut feature, not in a bad way, but I think he is honing in his skills and he just only gets better from here, which is why I have it at 10. This is also the only PTA movie that I've only seen once, so I do need to rewatch this. At number 9, I have The Master, which I know is a blasphemous take to many people, but this just is a movie I've never really connected with. I think there's a lot of technique and stuff in here that just only PTA could do, and I think that's really cool. But yeah, it's just not my favorite, sadly. At number 8, I have Punch Drunk Love, a movie that feels very me-coded. And it is, but again, just not a movie that I'm super gravitated towards. I think Philip Seymour Hoffman in this movie is my favorite part. At number 7, I have Inherent Vice, which is a movie that I watched at home for the first time and just didn't really vibe with. But then I have the privilege of seeing it in a theater this year on 70mm at the Music Box in Chicago. And I think once you know what this movie is and you can just let it wash over you, it's a really good time. It's also really fun with a crowd because it's just very, very funny. Now we're kind of entering masterpiece territory, which is tough. I can't believe I'm about to say this movie is at number 6, but at number 6, I have Boogie Nights, which is just so good. And just one of those movies where I watched it a few years ago and was like, oh, wow, like this guy likes Martin Scorsese just like me. Just such a good time. Such good needle drops too. At number 5, I have Magnolia, which is a movie that's skyrocketed in my PTA rankings and just in my heart and rankings of all movies of all time, because I watched this a few weeks ago and was just so emotionally affected by it. I highly recommend watching the making of documentary as well if you're interested in PTA at all, and just kind of seeing his process. And spoiler alert, there's a lot of good frog stuff in there too. At number 4, I have Licorice Pizza, and this is one of my favorite movies of all time. So it being at 4 really tells you how much I love this guy. I fell in love with movies during COVID. I always loved movies, but COVID gave me the space to just watch stuff day in and day out. And so Licorice Pizza coming out in 2021 was really important in my movie-going life because it was the first cinema experience that I really sought out. It was the first movie I saw on film. I drove hours to see it and it was worth it. Just such a special movie to me. I listen to this soundtrack like pretty much every day. It's just a huge comfort to me. What a film. God, I love it. At number 3, I have There Will Be Blood, which it feels wrong to have it so low as just one of the great American movies that has maybe the best performance in a PTA movie inside of it, with Daniel Day-Lewis as Daniel Plainview. It's crazy how entertaining this movie is and how funny this movie is. Like when you just kind of have the plot on a piece of paper. You're like, yeah, okay. But no, it's like a major piece of work, and it's also simultaneously one of the most entertaining movies that you can watch, which is crazy. Okay, now that I have the final 2 left, if I say what 2 is, then you'll know what 1 is. So here we go. Drum roll, please. At number 2, I have Phantom Thread, which was my favorite PTA movie for a very long time. And it means a lot to me. And I think it's so cool that this movie is romantic and hysterical. And you could call it a romantic comedy, but to a normal person, this is just not a romantic comedy. Sorry for the sirens. We're in New York, baby. Okay, we're back. But also just like one of the most quotable movies ever. Beautiful score, beautiful costumes. I really just think it doesn't get better than this, except it did a few weeks ago when I saw One Battle After Another. You can call it recency bias. That's fine. I've seen this movie 4 times now, and I just think it is such a masterwork. I think every decision is just so perfect and purposeful, and everyone's talking about this movie right now, so I have nothing original to say. But Sean Penn, what a performance. I mean, every performance in this is just absolutely stunning, and I just can't wait to watch this movie forever. Like, I just feel so lucky. I think this movie is at number 1 because I just feel so overwhelmed by its existence, and it's just a movie that I think is going to live with me and live with society for a really long time. Yeah, that's my PTA ranking today. To emphasis on today, because don't ask me tomorrow. But thank you to Ethan for having me. Thank you for listening. This is the correct ranking.